In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off the Page.
Hello, geeks. I'm Mike Kitchen, and hey, don't get cocky, you inferior creatures.
Hey, you guys! I gutted a unicorn today. And I'm Trevor.
Original Gavin.
That cut out, Gavin. You gotta do it again.
No, you gotta do it again, Gavin. We didn't catch
Damn
it.
it!
Sorry, man.
Okay, I was trying to do a Yoda voice. Do or do not. Do or do not. There is no try.
I guess that sounds too much like eating Doritos. It's cutting out.
Maybe I was. Screw you guys. I'm Gavin.
I'm Troy, and one morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How we got in my pajamas? I don't know. So I want to welcome everyone to episode 15. That's right, 1-5. We've been at this for quite a few weeks. Yep, Trevor's counting them up. Yep, I think we got it right. All right. And
He had to take off his shoes to do that, but still.
But he got there.
yeah, he got there. All right. So we are a collective of friends from way back in our college years. All of us are now much older and all that, but we're still doing the same thing, talking about everything that's pop culture amongst ourselves. And now we just have a way to bring this to the masses, and that's what we're doing here. Weekly podcast.
Whether they want to or not.
Whether they want to listen to us or whether we want to or not.
Both.
A little column A.
A little bit of column A, a
B.
little bit of column B. There's the Simpsons reference for the week. All right. So one of the big things that actually happened to us in the geek sphere is we finally got to see the final episode of the first season of Loki. And this episode was the wrap up to the brilliantly written and performed and executed series that is now leading us into our movie universe, which is coming up very shortly. So what did you guys think of, in general, just the episode? What did you guys think in general?
Yeah. They such a big build up through 5 episodes. And that was episode 6. I know I was probably expecting more, but yeah, I was expecting more. I really was. I watched the episode twice. The first time I watched it through, got everything. And the second time I was watching, kind of like see as a standalone episode, how did it stand? Very poorly. As a standalone episode, it was just they were trying to tie up some loose ends, but it felt like more like they were like, hey, we know there's a second season. Let's get there. And yeah, up until this point, every episode stood well on its own. It told a complete story for just that episode and gave you the hooks. Like it solved the hooks from the previous episode and gave you hooks into the next one. This just felt like they were like, we just need to get to the end, so we got a second season to film. And there was a couple of nice little revelations, but not enough to carry the whole episode. They could have got those done in 5 minutes. That was my take.
Now, fun thing is we all at least attempted to shoot reaction videos to this. And I will have to say that the biggest reaction I had from my entire family was the ending. All of us went, what? That's it? Because we were expecting the season to wrap. And it's, okay, we got a season 2. And if they landed on season 2, I'll still be a happy camper. But yeah, after 6 episodes with so much happening, I thought we would have it wrap up. Now, to be fair, we essentially got like the Thanos snap at the end of this episode, right? Where Lady Loki kills Kang. And it's like, well, now you're going to have to deal with my alternate reality versions. And that's going to be the big bad for phase 4. At least that's my guess. What do you think, Ev?
That was probably our biggest reaction was, that's it? Wait, no! That That can't be it. Fast forward to the credits. Come on. Okay, that one. Okay. Oh, but that's it? Oh, wait a second. That is. Oh, that was more or less how we ended it.
Right. It's like we want more. It's like if the next season, yeah, I guess next season. If that was next week, then it's like, all right, we can keep going. But to have to wait a year or whatever it's going to be, it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah, with no prospect of when season 2 is going to even be filmed, it's kind of hard to tell when we're going to get a second season. I was a little let down with the 3-person stage play that we had as this final episode. Now, there was extra stuff sprinkled in there. They did have TVA stuff come in, and they did figure out. Oh, it was kind of neat to figure out how they freed the other variants from the haze of what the TVA is doing and all that. It was an interesting way to do it. I enjoyed Kang's speech. I enjoyed him waxing on about how all this is possible, how all this is this really good exposition in this large scene that didn't seem to be too over the head, too cerebral. It was very plain, straightforward, and it made sense. The Loki and Sylvie part of it, I thought the two of them working side by side was great. When they thought they were going to turn on each other was fantastic. In bits and pieces, this was a fantastic episode. Little bits and pieces there, but after what we saw up until like the end of that 5th episode, this unfortunately was a bit of they pumped the brakes a little too much, and I think we stalled out. We didn't completely come to a complete stop. We kept coasting and all that. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the episode, but as this final episode, to have a Star Trek The Next Generation cliffhanger ending act tacked on to the end of it seemed a little too much. The switch up with I will admit, I wasn't expecting the whole entire, and who are you sort of reaction from Mobius and all that. So, I mean, but I welcomed it. Again, Tom Hiddleston sold it. It was fantastic, but unfortunately I was a little let down. But that being said, as a whole, all 6 episodes all together, I will sit down right now and watch them all 6 hours straight through, because it was just that great bit of a ride. Now, anyone else have the same feeling about that?
Yeah, for me, all 6 episodes, I was all in for the whole thing. And I really want to see the next season. Like, that's a big thing. Like, I was disappointed that the story arc didn't come to an end. Like, I would like if it wrapped up in 6 episodes. But as halfway through a 12-episode arc, I think it's in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing it that way, it does kind of work. But I still feel of the 6 episodes, this was by far the weakest. I did like the twist at the end where, when Loki comes running up and Mobius is like, who are you? Are you an analyst? What division you work for? The moment when he turns and instead of seeing the 3 statues of the timekeepers, you see, he who remains as in the Kang armor.
Yep. The proper, legit
the
comic book
Kang
outfit.
Armor. And that's when the realization, when she booted him through the door, using his pad, not her normal time pad, he didn't just back into the TVA. He's now in the Kang universe. Because Kang always, he has different time periods, different dimensions he's from. So now he's in Kang's universe where there isn't 3 timekeepers, there's 1. And they all know him as Kang. And he's wearing comic accurate Kang armor. So that was a nice touch. And things is, it's just a case of our Loki, 616 Loki, has never met the Kang universe Mobius. So that's why he didn't know who he was. Assumed he was an analyst from his clothing. It was like, it's a nice touch. It's nice to see where it goes from this. But again, tiny moment in a whole episode.
Yeah.
It's just not enough.
There were 2 points there that I really, really liked about this episode. One, when Sylvie booted him into the Kang reality.
I was waiting for the Loki betrayal moment, and that was it.
But the thing is, Tom Hiddleston Loki basically just sold that expression. He gave this like Oh, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
You're
was
right.
so
yeah.
good.
Oh,
It was so good.
And they built
then-
that up for the entire season, and then he landed it.
Exactly. And then when we saw, and it was just that shot with you see the timelines branching, but through the entire series, we saw the one line and then branching. And it was just one line and multiple branches off the single line. Loki arrives, and Mobius has no idea who he is, and they see the actual timeline, but there's two single lines, and they're both branching. So
Yeah.
this is really showing just how big of a fuck up this was.
Well, it's not just branching. You know, some of the branches were crisscrossing.
crisscrossing. Yeah. That was fantastic.
So those
And
are
I
now
love
Nexus events.
the visual representation in Kang's Citadel, like how you see it in the background, where it starts off just a solid line in space. By the end, it's this giant nebula of just mess. So I thought that was a great effect.
Bring on the movies.
I love the little digital effect of the guys showing off the different, like when he was telling the story, how the morphing into the different things and whatnot. Now, I didn't catch in the credits. Is he actually only listed as He Who Survives in the credits?
He Who Remains, yeah.
He Who Remains.
Yeah.
Sorry, He Who Remains. Okay, so he wasn't.
But he
actually
did drop the line of a conqueror.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Was,
No, that I caught.
okay,
but
there we go.
The
There's
actual
the line.
The actual name wasn't actually said yet.
No.
No.
Okay,
Well,
so question
also
for you
the
guys, for Jonathan Majors, how do you think he did as King? Because we know he's King, but what did you
Yeah,
guys think?
He played it so well, so smooth. Things he's saying, and then he stops and it's like, I fibbed. And you're just like, which part?
He was enjoying this like Jonathan Majors was really enjoying the role, and this is the air quote benevolent Kang.
Yes.
The one who has basically pruned countless lives, eliminated every single opponent he's had of himself that he's had to face, and this is the good version that we see. And now there is an entire multiverse of bad Kangs about to wreak havoc.
What's a bad King do?
What he reminded me of in doing his speech, sitting behind the desk, the teasing around, eating the apple in the elevator. He reminded me of Brent Spiner's Puck from Gargoyles, the animated series.
Yes.
It was very without the constant Shakespearean speech, his mannerisms, his way that his laughing, his using the magic to his advantage, sort of thing. Totally big time vibes of Puck from Ghostbusters, from Gargoyles, the animated series.
Also, a bit of the Matrix Reloaded architect in there.
Right, but
Yeah.
better,
Kinda like-
more entertaining.
Yeah, he has all the answers.
More lively, more than not anything else, but definitely more lively.
He was much more enjoyable than the architect was.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he
Now-
first showed up on screen, I wasn't sure what to think, because my initial instinct was, oh, that's not what I expected Kang to act like. But he sold me within the first speech. It's like, okay, yeah, some eccentric time traveler that controls everything.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, yeah, I was sold.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, when he showed up, I'm like, oh, really? We went with Kang. We actually went with Kang. We aren't going to cliffhanger on Kang. We're actually going to show Kang. Now, obviously,
That was a standard Marvel, like red herring, because he never said Kang was going to be in Loki series.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, totally.
They never said that.
No.
And it wasn't until like the last episode, air date hit, and I think until they actually put him in the IMDb credits. I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, damn you, Marvel! Cards so close to your chest, they're on the back of the chair.
Yeah, and this is a case where I don't mind them doing the whole race swap thing, because like in the comic books, it's Nathaniel Richards, which I'm assuming is a descendant of Reed Richards, right? But it is far enough in the future where you could say, well, okay, maybe he married into the Wakanda family, and like, yeah, I still buy it. Or it's alternate reality. Like we already saw that with Loki. So in this case, I didn't buy it. Like he looks like a Jack Kirby drawing, which I enjoy. And then when they lit his face with the blue lights, It
Mhm.
looked amazing. And I love that they went through the effort to make that original time when you see him with the blue lights shining up in the face. Like, I bought him as Kang right away.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see him in Ant-Man Quantumania. He took over a lot of the scenes that he was in just with the way he was. I can't wait to see him in Ant-Man doing the same thing.
Do you
So
think he'll be
question
in
for
the
you guys.
Eternals?
No,
Could he be Ramatut in the Eternals?
I don't think so.
That's a hard one to say. I mean,
Because there's that whole story arc where he does go back in time and he becomes basically the Pharaoh. So
yeah.
if you're going to introduce the Eternals and try and keep the big bad echoing through all the stories, like, I could see them possibly doing that.
Okay, yeah. If they're going to, I mean, they might hint at, but now that he's splintered off, he could show up anywhere, really. I mean,
Yeah, and it could
in
be
any
any
he could be-
version.
yeah, any version of one that can't do a thing or one that is all powerful. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
leads to my question here for you guys. So, do you think we're going to see variations of Kang as the big bads for a lot of the upcoming movies?
For sure.
I'm not
it's just
sure
gonna
about that.
be-
I mean, they've already said the Eternals' big bad is the Celestials.
Oh,
That's what
like
they're
I
kinda
see what you're
setting
saying.
up
I
to
see
be
what
their
you're saying.
big
I
bad.
see.
So-
Okay.
And looking at Phase 4, it's I can't see where they're going to fit in Kang as many times.
Right.
I think he's going to be the new Infinity Stones. I'm with you, Gavin. I think he's going to just start popping
I've
up.
got a yellow Kang, I've got a green Kang, I've got a blue Kang.
Yeah.
But I have two like red ones. What do I do with
I
this
love
spare?
Kang.
Hey, you,
I'm thinking-
Red Kang,
I can-
Red Kang number
looking
2,
at
you
the
sit over
list
there.
of-
You're a paperweight.
Looking at the list of films for Phase 4, I mean, maybe Spider-Man No Way Home segueing into Doctor Strange. I
Right.
can't see Kang being the big bad of Thor: Love and Thunder,
No.
or Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
No.
Maybe the Marvels, but I doubt it. Ant-Man, definitely he's in there. Guardians of the Galaxy, and he might show up in Fantastic Four at the end.
But if you look at what they did with the Infinity Stones, there's always another villain, but there's always like in the same
like a
way
background.
Kang.
Yeah.
Right. So there's enough stuff going on in the Loki series, and Kang didn't show up until the end. So you do have an entire story without him. But I do, because Marvel likes to build up to the big Avengers event.
Yeah, but there's a difference between a person and an object. Like they were able to tuck the Infinity Stones throughout, like seed them throughout the movies, because there's 6 separate objects. When you have it as a person, even if he shows up in the background, kind of, hey, it's if he's going to be the big bad who's kind of pulling the strings, he's got to pull the strings not just in one movie, but in just about all of the movies, so that by the time you get to the culmination of Phase 4, makes his grand appearance. But it sounds like he's going to making his grand appearance in Ant-Man. So,
Which makes sense if the TVA is in the quantum realm, and that's what they use to time travel.
yeah,
Exactly.
The way they build him up in like the Infinity Stones and then to Thanos, that was it was a very slow build, obviously, because Phase 1 they just were still kind of trying to figure out where the hell they were going, and then finally when Thanos entered the picture, and at least it was like the shadow of him here and there, but with Kang we've got him front and center right at the beginning, so it's possible, and this might be like just like a crackpot theory of mine. It may be possible that Kang is the red herring of the next set of phases. There's a big your old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be.
Simpsons
But
reference
no,
number 2.
good night, folks.
But that's something I've been wondering is they've done this huge reveal. So it's basically a big magician reveal right away. So are they gonna basically throw us like off the track until they finally get the next sort of Avengers type movie kind of going?
I think it's because it's the benevolent Kang. Like, this is the nicest version of Kang. So I think the big reveal is going to be when you start seeing the really evil buggers showing up, causing havoc.
Now, is it going to be the one situation as well? the Kangs will be knocking each other out to gain more and more power to become that final one all-powerful Kang?
It could
You
be.
think that could be some sort of thing? So like the Marvel universe gets caught in this war between Kangs trying to, like, maybe the Avengers at one point team up with a Kang to defeat a more powerful Kang or something like that, or
Could be.
whatnot.
That's absolutely not outside the realm of possibility with Marvel.
Well, anything's not
Now,
out of the realm of possibilities
Kang
for the
was
MCU.
instrumental in starting Young Avengers. It was
Oh, he was he?
A youthful version of himself started the Young Avengers.
Ah,
I didn't know that.
So,
no,
Yeah,
this
it's,
is news to me, so that's cool.
let's see. At some point, Kang travels back to his own past to prevent an incident where a confrontation with the bully left him in a coma for a year. But meeting his future self so horrifies Kang's past self that he steals Kang's armor and retreats to the past using an emergency protocol created by the Vision to recruit a new team that would eventually become the Young Avengers.
So he does a MODOK,
Sort of, yeah.
the animated series MODOK, the young
Yeah.
MODOK ends up time traveling to
And the young Kang takes the alias of Iron Lad using the armor.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
and then when the older Kang tracks his younger self to the past, the young Avengers are able to kill him. So,
All right.
So
Okay.
When was that
this is how we
story
made-
released? Was that
Yes.
recent?
Pretty recent. So this may be how they introduced the Young Avengers, or
Avengers.
even the Dark Avengers to the Marvel
Oh, yeah.
Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Because we have all these variants of Kang, not just as as an adult, but kid versions of Kang, almost like Kid Loki. That's how we could eventually start up the Dark Avengers.
Right. Okay, cool. So what do you think we can expect for like season 2 of Loki?
I can't
It all
even predict
depends.
it. Every
Yeah,
single episode, I didn't know what to expect. And the whole way through, I was guessing. So I can't even hazard a guess at the next season.
Yeah, I'm with Mike here. I can't. All I know what's going to happen is Tom Hiddleston is going to be the best damn Loki ever, and that's as far as I can predict.
And we do know that as of now, the director, Kate Herron, is not coming on for the second season. Unless that's just like a negotiation thing to get a bigger paycheck or something. But that's what it looks like right now.
My guess is until they release a release date for season 2, we've got Doctor Strange in March 25th of next year, and then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp in February of 2023. So unless they can get season 2 out before Kang's appearance in Ant-Man, I don't know. I'm not even going to hazard a guess.
So we could
I gotta
just be picking up wherever they drop it in the MCU at any point. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they're filming now, that'd be great. But if they're like, oh, we're gonna hold off and shoot for like a summer 2023 after he's out in the Ant-Man movie, then they're gonna have to really change some stuff up.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What
yeah.
do you think, Troy?
Well, I was thinking they could do almost anything because it's a time travel situation, so they can at any point try and Loki can try and convince Mobius that, hey, this is what has actually happened. You and me have been working together all this time, or how long has it been? A day? A week? How long have I actually been here? Sort of thing, and then try to convince them that again.
Listen, I've got all these Infinity Stones here.
Yeah, and it also depends on if they still are aware. Well, they are obviously aware that they're variants now. Try and get them to figure out, like, yeah, it could go anywhere. It could have nothing to do with the Kang storyline now, and have the MCU has to deal with it, and they're still trying to make this one timeline work again. Is basically what has to pretty much be done. So
What did you think of the Miss Minutes jump scare?
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. You know what? Anytime Tara Strong wants to jump out of the dark and yell at me like that, I'm all for it, because that was.
Now, is she working? And it was just a side thing when I felt when I was watching the episode. So Miss Minutes, is she working for the TVA, or is she just working for Kang directly, and not even
I think
really?
Kang.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
she works for Kang directly.
Kang, yeah,
and it just her smoke screen is appearing as a part of the TVA.
Yeah.
She might be her,
which
like-
means I hope at some point anywhere during the MCU she pops up somewhere, because if she's a creation of Kang, we got to have Miss Minutes show up
Ant-Man.
again.
Ant-Man Quantumania.
Oh, that would be
Please,
fantastic.
bring out
Oh
Miss
my
Minutes in there.
God.
They're filming it right now. So
I read
Miss Min-
somewhere that she was supposed to have a fight scene with Loki, but it got cut.
Okay.
there was I know he was supposed to have a fight scene with the frog Thor.
Well, there was
Um,
that. I'm pretty sure there was Miss Minutes. We can Google it and double check, but
I
that
still
would have
want
been
to see
crazy.
Tom Hiddleston fighting an invisible frog and then having them put it in post that the frog beating him up.
Yeah.
I want to see that. They got to put that somewhere. Come on, Disney Plus, making outtakes.
Well, they sold the crocodile for me, so
Yeah, no, they definitely sold us on the crocodile. What were we calling it? What is it being called?
Loki.
Croaky.
Croaky, right? Yes,
Although he's
yes.
an alligator.
Although he's an alligator. Well, no, the long pointed snout is an alligator. The round curved nose is a crocodile, isn't it?
Nope, got it backwards.
I got it backwards. Why is it
The
that way
rounded
then?
snout is an alligator. The long pointed nose is a crocodile.
But why? The one makes the shape of an A, and the one has the front of a C. Like, why?
It's just the way it goes.
Who the? Ugh.
Troy, screw you and you're making sense.
That's why bullfrogs in Australia are dinglehoppers.
Dinglehoppers, yes.
And another question for you guys:
No, Chazwazzers. That's it. I called it Chazwazzer.
the time bombs from episode 2.
Yep.
We never really got a conclusion to that.
No, we did
No,
not.
we didn't.
That's one thing I was waiting all season to see what happened. Like all these
I
spots
wanted-
that they nuked.
I wanted to see that too in this episode. I wanted to see, like things are going on and suddenly like a little bomb just drops and everything just kind of resets. Seeing
Yeah.
like Thornton, a bunch of like, Asgardians running around and then it resets back to like trees. Thornton
I
never
think
happened.
we might see that reverberating through the MCU.
Yeah, we might.
I wanted to see it
Ooh.
now.
I
That's
wanted to see it now as well.
Yeah,
At
no,
least at some point this season, I wanted to see, because that was such an epic moment.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
just didn't get a payoff for
I
it.
kind of wanted to see He Who Remains at one point turning to Sylvie and go, do you realize how much trouble those time bombs you set off caused? And then a quick flashback of just, I'd like Thornton like 1550 and just a door opens. You have a bunch of Asgardians running around, maybe Native Americans, and it just comes tumbling out, doom, 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 and it just wipes it away. And now it's just trees and maybe a Native American kind of like looking around like, stuff like that.
yeah, that would be kind of neat. But unfortunately, we're gonna
It
have to
felt like
wait
they
for
didn't have a
some.
budget on this episode. They were like, so everything happens in a room. Just a
Well, they
simple
spent
room.
it all on the last episode.
Yeah.
Raising Asgard isn't
Budget
cheap.
for this one. Let me check my pocket. $5.19. Run with it. We got a basement we can use. Let's dress it up with some green screens.
I mean, it was a cool set. I mean,
It was cool.
yeah, it was a
It
cool
was.
looking set. I mean, the production value was because it didn't look like it was not your green screen digital effect. It was an actual physical
Thunderstorm.
set. It looked like. What was that?
Thunderstorm.
Oh,
I
you
may
got a
cut out
thunderstorm.
if the lightning gets really bad. I'll be.
Hey, you guys,
black screen.
you guys noticed the gold?
Yeah, the
veins in
marbling.
the walls
Marbling,
zone.
yeah.
Yeah,
everything.
the
all
kintsugi.
the stone had that.
Yeah, the
including
Japanese
his
kintsugi.
little time pad.
So I'm wondering if that was significant in some way, like something cracked, but he repaired it again and again and again.
Or that's just his power source. Like that's the source of power for like the time pads and everything. And why not build a whole castle out of it?
As somebody drew a connection to a certain type of artwork that has that effect to it, and I do think it, they probably pulled that look to create that fractured time look, like everything being stitched together. But it was cool. I liked how everything, the castle, the citadel, the statues, everything
sure,
had that
yeah.
look.
Yeah. All right. So, so as a whole, thumbs up on the Loki, correct?
Loki was amazing.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Even though we were left with a cliffhanger, yes, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I
They
think
they kind of extended her foot and tripped us at the end there, but
Yeah,
this definitely beats Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a whole.
for sure. Yep.
And I think it might tie, maybe even a half step ahead of WandaVision for me.
I would definitely put it personally, because I'm more connected to the character of Loki than Wanda and Vision. Don't get me wrong. I loved WandaVision just because of what the premise of the series was, like the TV stuff, right up my alley, fantastic and all that. But no, I enjoyed almost every single aspect of every single episode of this series, and it was only 6 episodes. It didn't seem like there was any filler, but yeah, I definitely put this definitely
Bad
above.
Batch.
Speaking of filler, let's discuss the Bad Batch.
But I think we're going to go to the other Marvel property that was just recently released, just to get an update, because we now have, over the week, we had 2 more of our members actually, one completed and one actually watched the full movie, and that's going to be Black Widow, which was released last Friday on the Disney Plus. Mr. Brown, you had started to watch it and couldn't get back to it. So what do you have to say as your completion?
Having seen the film start to finish, it was a nice send-off for Scarlett Johansson. Best part of the whole damn movie was Yelena, honestly. I will happily watch a Black Widow movie about her.
With her, yes, for sure.
With her, I mean, I will happily watch that movie, but I'm still ticked about the Taskmaster, like severely ticked. That character could have been utilized so much better. Yeah, so that's my opinion. Really hasn't changed a lot since last week. It's got some nice visuals. It's a nice send off for one of the original Avenger characters. Yelena was awesome, and they really misused the Taskmaster enough to piss me off. Yeah, not one of my favorite Marvel films.
I'm hearing a TV background.
Yes,
Does it have a TV?
that is me. Just give me a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jacques!
Yes. So now we come down to Mr. Michael. What do you have to say about your watching of the Black Widow movie?
It's
on Disney
pretty
Plus?
much what I was expecting, which is why I wasn't that keen on watching it in the first place. But I do have 2 daughters, and they were really excited to see the Black Widow movie. Now, about half an hour into it, all my sons ended up bailing. They didn't even want to watch it. They got bored. So, and that's a bad sign for a Marvel superhero movie when the 3 boys in the room just think, this is just boring action sequences. We're just going to go draw some comic books. So,
okay, so what is the half-hour point? I can't 100% remember where we are, like roughly.
I'm not even sure what it was like. There was some generic fight scenes. I think it was probably sitting around like when Black Widow was with her fake family. It was probably somewhere around there. Like they saw the fight scenes, they weren't all that interested in it, and they were like, "Nah, we're done."
You got the fact.
Somewhere around there.
I'll tell you exactly the 30-minute mark. 30 minutes. We are at just getting to Budapest.
Disney on demand.
Just
now,
getting.
That's another thing.
Honestly, 30 minutes is like the title card for Budapest.
Speaking of Budapest, that was such a letdown. I would like that was built up for 10 years in the Marvel movies.
But Mike, this wasn't the Budapest that she and Hawkeye.
They said there was arrow holes in the wall.
But that happened early. When they refer to Budapest, they're referring to when they went at each other and then killed off what's his face. We saw glimpses of it, but we didn't get to see. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the Budapest but Jeremy Renner wasn't in the goddamn film, and they should have just a little quick cameo sequence. Let's see what happened. You mention it so many times, right up and through Endgame. Yeah, show us the goddamn sequence.
I'm pretty sure every single person wanted to see that part of the Black Widow story.
There is no doubt in that. Yes, everyone wanted to see what happened in Budapest.
When she gets there and she's talking to Yelena, very differently. They could have done flashbacks. They could have all done what are these? Look like strange bullet holes. Those aren't bullet holes. Those and then a flashback of him firing and her dodging each arrow, and
Right, and
wanted
the
to
big
see
thing that Black Widow did was she blew up a little child. Like, that wasn't very cool. That's pretty boring. That's a letdown for a Marvel superhero. You know, at her big finale moment, and the last thing you learn about her is that she just blew up a little kid. One thing I didn't like too with Black Widow is in all the other movies, she was so much fun. Like Iron Man 2, she was such a fun character, right? Where she was undercover, she's doing the spy bit, she's flirting with Tony Stark, she's doing all like the cool action. It's like she's a fun character. In the Avengers, where she's all tied up,
okay, I see
and
what you're
she's
getting at.
interrogating,
Yeah.
and then she gets the phone call. It's like, oh, I have to break out of myself getting interrogated, you know, because I have to go get the Hulk. It's fun when she's doing the face off with Loki, and she's playing mind games with Loki in the Shield helicarrier. That's so much fun. This movie, she wasn't fun.
No, she wasn't.
Not at all.
She was the straight
Florence
man.
Pugh was
she was
the fun
straight
one.
man. Yeah, she was definitely yeah. So yeah, Scarlett Johansson played the straight man in most of this. Yeah,
I know, and that's such a shame because essentially Black Widow is a female James Bond for the Avengers. She should be playing up that role. She should be doing super spy stuff. She should be like, the only time was when she took the mask off once, but we saw that in Captain America already. So it's nothing new. But I want to see some cool, you know, superhero, super spy, covert action stuff. Like Winter Soldier. She was amazing in that one. Like, she felt like a super spy that whole movie. This one, she just kind of didn't.
I kind of wanted to see almost like a Mission Impossible style heist of her getting the information to find the Red Room.
Yeah.
Not just like, hey, just get yourselves captured. That I wanted to see a whole thing where they had to break into a complex and see her at her finest.
Yes.
Right.
At her spy finest, getting that information.
And speaking of the Red Room, all of my daughters and my wife had the same comment. They wanted to see the backstory from Age of Ultron, the Red Room, where they're all like ballerinas dancing and being trained killers. There was none of that.
No,
not a single bit. There was one scene with like 20 Black Widows doing training exercises with guns that kind of looked like a dance, but you never got the dramatic sequence of the ballet dancers that are then turned into trained killers.
Yeah, turning like you're using what they learned in ballet, and now we're putting a gun in your hand. Now you're using that.
Now you're assassinating people.
Now you're learning to beat the hell out of somebody.
Right, like that, and which is why I think Age of Ultron is such a great movie. Like the 1 minute or so that it showed a Black Widow backstory, I think was stronger than this entire movie.
But wait, aren't the girls being like the ballet girls in Age of Ultron? Aren't they like much younger than the girls that we saw in this movie?
Yeah,
like they're
much
little
younger.
kids.
Well, they were all ages. They were all in the ballet line, and I think in Age of Ultron, there were all ages.
Oh,
but
really?
Then when they were shooting at the targets, they were at a certain age. Like,
okay, I can only remember them all being like little kids. That's why, and then that's why now you don't see any of the ballet stuff. They're now past that point.
Just like the Jedi, they get them young.
Get them young, and yes, and exactly.
And you would assume that they'd be training the next generation of Black Widow assassins. At least I would think that. So when our Black Widow goes to take down this Red Room, she's actually saving the next generation of kids from going through the torture that she went through. That's the kind of movie I was looking. Was that?
Yeah. You're saving a couple of generations. So like the young, like saving the teenagers and then the preteens and then the little kids. Because I imagine they're constantly recruiting groups of a certain age range. That's the next batch in. And as they graduate to the next level, well, then now we have to bring the next group in.
Yeah.
Like the Jedi, taking them young and going up through the stages. So when she showed up in the Red Room, there should have been, you know, like the adult Black Widows, the late teens that are almost ready to deploy, the just like the tweenagers who are at that stage, the preteens, and then the younger kids, and then eventually like, you know, the 3 to 5 year olds.
I see. You want to see more than just what we saw on that helicarrier.
Yeah,
you
more
want
than
to
just
see
the
different
20,
gotcha.
You know, 20-ish.
Gotcha.
You know,
to make it look like a bigger
widows.
group than except for
so
that
he's
giant screen.
Yeah, because it said he considers them expendables. That means he's got to be constantly replenishing the ranks, and that's not something you can do in a weekend. So he's got to be recruiting, like getting them brought in young, and then I wanted to see the multiple different classrooms of the different stages of the Black Widows program.
Yep. Yeah, so like the big three things I wanted to see, or like my whole family wanted to see. The girls wanted to see the ballet stuff, right? The little girls being trained assassins. We wanted to see Budapest, and I wanted to see a Daredevil in there at some point, just because of Frank Miller. Like, and they could have done that. They could have written a movie that had all of that stuff in there, plus all the super spy stuff. And I wanted to see Scarlett Johansson actually be fun.
I wanted to see Black Widow's first mission as a Black Widow.
That would have been a good one.
Point of no return, when she had her first assignment, take the gun, now go kill the guy, same sort of thing. And seeing how that, have her even remembering that, and like how gullible she was. They talk about how gullible she was, and how naive and accepting of the orders that she was, and how she's a different person. She overcame that brainwashing.
That would be a really fun opening sequence, because I didn't like the young Black Widow riding around on a bicycle with blue hair. I thought that was a weak opening sequence. But to see her first Black Widow assassination mission, that would have been really good.
Like have her, you could even have her like already on the run, like reminiscing of her career up to that point of like, where did her right turns and wrong turns, how things could be different. And maybe, with that picture of her and Yelena as kids. And that was one of her biggest regrets is, she never got Yelena. He never got her out.
Yeah. Then Taskmaster, we talked about that a lot, but that was the other big one. It's like, I couldn't get past that.
Okay, then Michael, I'm going to go back a couple of seconds there. How would you introduce the Rachel Weisz character and the David Harper character then, if you don't have that 1995 sequence? How would you introduce the fact that they were a family unit at one point?
I think that's a good point, because the whole way through, I never thought Black Widow should be a family movie, because the whole point of the Black Widow character, she was ripped from her family. She was thrown into this Russian assassination program. Like, I think this is the wrong character to do a family movie. To see her with her fake dad and her fake mom and her fake sister, I think that ruins the character for me. So for me, I would just have them be other agents. It'd be like James Bond meeting up with other special agents. It's not James Bond meeting up with his sister and his dad. It's just other assassinations. Trevor's raising his hands. This is now a video podcast. Yeah. We can see it.
You there with
totally
the
look like
fingers.
You totally look like you murdered a unicorn. What is it, Trevor?
Okay, you can take Rachel Weisz's character. She's an older generation Black Widow. So when Scarlett Johansson, when she's going up the ranks, they are paired with an old, the next generation Black Widow, kind of showing them the ropes. Like, here's your bed, and then later on, like, no, you do the move this way, do that way. And Red Guardian, he was part of a different program, a super soldier program, but they bring him in to occasionally test him against Black Widows and test Black Widows against him, because honestly, they can't really hurt him that much. He can whip him around the room, but almost just like the Winter Soldier was brought in to test the other super soldiers of that program, they bring in Red Guardian to go hand to hand against Black Widows to see if they're competent enough.
I had actually forgotten about it. I forgot about that's why Winter Soldier was brought in to help. Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Trevor, in your scenario, would there be a family situation?
Sort of, because you've got the connection that Scarlett Johansson would have with Rachel Weisz's character is almost like the older sister character. And then the connection that she would have with Yelena, because Yelena was her charge as they were going through the program. So Yelena was the generation behind her. Rachel Weisz's character was the generation ahead of her. That's where you have, instead of mom, and it's more like older sister, younger sister. She was like the middle child.
Okay, I like that.
She got out, they didn't, and that's part of her regrets. And a case of, Rachel Weisz's character and Red Guardian fell in love. Even though they weren't supposed to, they kind of fell in love. Maybe she was the first one to ever defeat him on the mats. And he respected that, and they kind of fell in love, and that's why they're together. But there you go. There's the family unit.
But she just kept doing those Black Widow moves around his neck, and he just thought that was pretty awesome.
Over and over and over again. She's like eventually turned into a helicopter and flew him into the ceiling. But no, just that. I mean, that's how you could make that family unit without them having a family unit.
Okay, that seems plausible. Yeah, that I would be able to live with this. I mean, it's still you're your points are very very solid. You guys didn't like certain things, you did like certain things, and all that sort of thing. I'll just say I still enjoyed the movie. I would suggest other people.
We didn't crush all your enjoyment, Troy.
No, you did
Trevor,
not.
we
No.
have to try harder next time.
You guys,
For the record, you didn't crush my joy either.
Oh, well, we don't care about you, Gavin.
We'll crush you next time, Gavin.
Gavin.
Oh, I was just doing the Dr. Claw myself. Just beat me to it.
Yeah,
so
I kind of like these sort of sessions where we take a movie and there's things we don't like. How would we rewrite them? Because something I always detest is people like, I don't like it. And they don't explain why, or better yet, how they would fix it. Gavin, get a life. And I like it, when we would eat back at Sheridan, we'd see a movie, we're like, oh, that movie was garbage. But then we say, how would we fix it?
Yeah, that was
would we
definitely
have done
something
it
we always
differently?
used to do. Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
That's one of the things I really enjoy is, seeing a movie that maybe was kind of subpar and like, all right, where did they go wrong? Where could they have taken it? What could they have done to make this a better film all around?
Neil Gaiman had a really great quote, which I'm going to butcher. If you ask somebody advice on a story, if they say they like it or don't like it, or if it's good or not good, you can take their word for it. But if you ask them how they would fix it, chances are they're wrong. Right? So it's like when you experience a story, you can tell if something's not right with it. Right? But if you start asking other people's opinions on how to fix it, a lot of time people will take it away from what your original vision is. So there's something wrong with it, and everybody will have opinions on how to fix it. So like if Trevor was making this movie, he'd do something. If I was making this movie, I would do something. But if Gavin's making the movie, he would want the potato head Optimus Prime in there.
Smart, very smart.
Yes.
You'll have to watch the visuals for that one. So yeah. But
Don't.
so yeah.
Just don't. Just
By the way, Mike, who's that behind you on your desk? In the box. Behind you.
That's
In the
box.
Oh, is that the new one?
yeah.
MP54? Something like that?
What's the number? MP52.
52.
Yeah.
The third incarnation of Starscream.
Yeah. It is pretty cool. They're making all these new things that I had when I was a kid, but better. And I'm like,
okay,
oh, I gotta get
I'm
that.
looking at the image of Mike's thing, and Mike is pretty much covering almost half the box with his shoulder. You could just barely see
And
the
the
tail
microphone.
end. No, I
I
understand
asked
that.
how much you paid.
$9
It was a lot.
million.
It was too much.
He doesn't want to say it out loud just in case
It was
someone
over
else hears.
$200. I forget. Got on the TF source, so whatever that's going for.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I never had a Starscream, and that one's pretty cool.
All right. So as we move on from that, we normally do a bunch of actually trailers and whatnot, but this week we actually had a couple of interesting things dropped on our lap in this whole entire geeking off the page sort of atmosphere. And what we got is an update from The Boys, which is coming up with its third season coming up soon. Third season coming up soon. Yes, thank you, Trevor. And what we got was a really cool, basically a 5.5 minute news segment from Vought News Network, which is basically going to be our bridging storyline to be able to connect what happened at the end of second season to what's going to start us off in third season. And it's just basically, it's 7-on-7 with Cameron Coleman, which is a fantastic, beautiful Fox News sort of style man in front of a blue screen talking to the camera about all the news articles that are going on. Like, for instance, it starts off with a discussion about how Homelander has gone into seclusion after the Stormfront realization that she's a Nazi. Not without them actually saying that, but we know as what Stormfront.
Well, she basically is.
She basically is. Yeah, she has basically revealed herself as a superhero Nazi. We then have another article where the U.S. government has decided they're not going to allow heroes, well, supers, to take part in the military. We have an article about the new Seven movie, the Dawn of the Seven, whether or not it's actually going to be released with the way that the Seven are now going on and whatnot. And then we have an article about a missing a missing super going by the name of Blind Spot, who apparently is a sightless character that has disappeared. And then we
saw
move
him earlier in the
yes, exactly. No, I mean since this point he has quote unquote
it's not been officially announced that he's
yes, exactly, yes,
no longer
yeah
present in the physical realm.
Everyone's prayers and thoughts are hoping for his safe return. And then we go to an ad break for a slightly disturbing but beautifully done ad for Our Sheets, a US company made bed sheets, all white sheets. It's
Can he be any more Mike Lindell?
Oh, it's yeah. I look for the new color, milk. Coming back from that small little break, we have an article about Billy Campbell being the senator, hiring him to be a liaison between supers, and how, hey, what's going on? Like, this guy's known for terrorism against supers and whatnot. We also have an article about Missing the Mark, which is another storyline where the Archer, I can't remember what his character's name is. The Archer, right?
Yeah.
Is and his, I guess, quote unquote, partner have basically going up against the corporation, the what is it? It's the same thing as yeah, no, the religious sort of thing that's just oh wow, why am I blanking on this?
Wow.
The Tom Cruise one?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And then we have good old pop star Starlight, her record, her song tribute to what is it? The now departed. Now that we know he's departed, the Invisible Guy. Oh no! Why am I blanking on names? I should have written notes.
But anyway, with Scientology.
Yeah, the Scientology. Yeah, whatever the Scientology guy who
Church
we know is now dead, the leader and all that. They also mentioned how he hasn't been seen for a while. He hasn't spoken out or anything, which he usually does. But we now know that he's dead because his head go boom.
Translucent, that's his name.
Translucent, thank you. Yes, the super. So it's Starlight's tribute, and it's hitting the charts, and it's about to surpass, after 9 weeks, it's going to surpass the other previous number one of the Sweet, previously set.
Super Sweet, yeah.
Super Sweet, a group of superhero
boy band,
pop
yes.
stars. Yes, the boy band, yeah. So, so again, the production value on this beautiful little 5.5 minute is just so on par for the series, and I'm totally looking forward to this. I've been watching on social media. I've been following Carl Urban. I've been following Jensen Ackles and all that sort of thing, and seeing what they're posting on Instagram about. It just looks like they're having a ball. And now that they're at a point where they're going whole hog into these episodes because of all the COVID limitations being pulled back and whatnot. So yay, we'll be getting, I think it's due at the end of the year, like end of fall or something like that. Like before.
Well, every time someone asks, they tack on a day.
Yeah, they keeps getting seen. Oh yeah, it'll be the end of summer. Oh, it'll be like before fall. It'll be fall sort of thing.
I think the last time they're like, well, now it's 23:33 because you people keep asking.
People stop asking?
Date back.
Yeah, exactly. So now the other one is an interesting one we had, and we got another trailer for Free Guy, which is something we've seen for a while. It's a movie that should have been out a while ago, and we've seen several trailers. Of course, COVID stopped it from being released into theaters, and slowly but surely, now that theaters are opened up, it's now being released into theaters. But we got to see that was given to us a little watch-along trailer with this trailer, and it's a trailer that I believe now puts Deadpool in the MCU.
Mhm.
Either that or it puts Korg
Korg.
into the Fox
Or the Deadpool universe.
X-Men into the Deadpool universe. Yeah, that's what we'll do it that. We'll do it that way.
Yeah, but
so
the Fox universe is no longer canon. It's all put under the non-canon category on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that got pruned.
it got pruned.
Poor-
Yes, exactly.
poor
Yeah.
Korg.
Yeah. So
He just
so
wanted to
basically
play
this is
Fortnite.
so to set up the premise, it's Deadpool talking about the trailer Free Guy while he's watching it, sitting next to Korg. And it's
Hey, man.
Ryan Reynolds in costume. It's a computer generated Taika Waititi as Korg.
Did he mocap that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe
man.
so. I believe I've seen behind the scenes shots of him wearing for that particular sequence and all that.
That's
And
awesome.
Guaranteed, Ryan Reynolds brought his Deadpool costume from home.
Oh yeah, no.
I think he
Ryan-
wears it everywhere. He was probably wearing it through the whole Free Guy.
underneath
CG to
his
edit it
guy
out.
costume.
Yes.
Underneath his guy costume, he's still wearing the Deadpool.
He, for sure he
costume.
was
Yeah.
wearing it. He didn't
Yeah.
have the hood on, but everything else was
Yeah.
there.
Well, see, that's the fantastic thing about Ryan Reynolds doing Deadpool is he will, wherever he travels with the Deadpool costume, because if he's ever on doing some sort of publicity thing and all that, and he has the time, he will drop by the local children's.
Which he got from Johnny Depp.
Yes, I know. He got from the idea of Johnny Depp doing the exact same thing, showing up as Jack Sparrow to all the kids' things. How Mark Hamill does the exact same thing. He's always got his Luke Skywalker costume.
What kids were watching Deadpool?
A bunch of kids are
All of
watching
them.
Deadpool. Oh my God,
All
yes.
of them.
That is so R-rated.
John dressed up as Kidpool.
Yes, yeah, John dressed up as Kidpool at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was a fantastic thing to watch. Deadpool really wants to have nothing to do with Korg, because he was expecting someone a little higher up echelon to be able to be, and then he settles with it. But the two of them seem to get along and all that. And it's just a fun little extra, like 3 movies on top of one movie. It's just amazing. It was so fun to watch. Also knowing that both Ryan Reynolds and Taika Waititi are in Free Guy just is, I mean, it's a friggin' producer's dream to be able to pull something like this together. To have,
And I love how it starts with a Cruella reaction video.
yes,
with
a
the
Cruella
Dalmatian.
action. Where are the dogs? And how he's actually got a Dalmatian sitting with him on the couch watching the Cruella trailer. It's just, yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I was sold right at that point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. I mean, look, from the get-go, Free Guy looked like it was going to be a fun movie.
Yeah.
They are really pushing it hard now. So, I mean, I'm a little weary now that it might be at that point where it's like, okay, it really wasn't that great of a movie, so let's make it sort of thing. I would like to see this movie. I was going to see this movie before, then obviously we couldn't see movies, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this movie for sure. Now
I also like the fact that because of the fact that Disney owns all this property, this was 100% sanctioned by Disney.
Oh yeah,
Like bar none.
Yeah.
Like no holds barred. Disney said Deadpool and Korg in a trailer? Let's do it. Somebody there said that.
Yep.
So yes, Deadpool is officially in the MCU.
yeah, oh for sure, yeah. The other thing that we got to see was James Gunn had released about a 3-minute clip, and basically it's a who's who of the Suicide Squad. It's kind of neat because we now have James Gunn sitting down. It's a bunch of talking heads and behind the scenes footage, which is also kind of neat, of the different characters and actors showing off their character. We actually go through practically the whole entire catalog of the characters that are in this movie. A lot of the characters reflect on their thoughts about, a lot of the actors reflect on the thoughts about the characters. They show scenes. James Gunn gives in little information, all that. We finally see arms falling off guy in action, where Nathan Fillion's arms are flying through a fight sequence and attacking people and all that. The only thing we don't actually see is we don't see any behind the scenes stuff of King Shark. We don't see any stand-in body or voice actor doing anything for King Shark. It's the only thing missing from it. It's kind of fun to see, to hear Margot Robbie talking in her Australian accent about Harley Quinn, and then cut to a shot of Harley Quinn talking in her Harley Quinn voice. It's kind of neat. But yeah, it's basically pushing that movie towards the point where this is going to be fantastic. This looks like it's going to be a fun ride, and it's going to be a deserving fun ride because of what the DC universe has been going through lately. It faltered a little. I mean, this whole entire Zack Snyder thing, this whole entire hit and miss movies, one after the other, a sort of a good one, a not so good one, a good one to watch, but not that good to begin with, sort of thing. But, and this looks like, with the last one, which was Birds of Prey, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was the last one that was theatrically released. Yeah, like it was like released just before the pandemic, before everything started to just shut down. Being Birds of Prey, which was an okay turnout sort of movie, but again, not handled as well as it could. But then, of course, we're now in a dry spell. But now that we have all of this leading up to it, this looks to be, I mean, this, my own personal opinion, this looks to be a fun movie that I'm going to enjoy watching. Anyone else?
Well, I would say pause the recording here. We'll all quickly go watch that and come back and react.
Okay, we could totally do that.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm watching it.
Okay.
Here, let's just...
somebody link that or throw it up on the screen there.
Okay, yeah, here, let me...
I can take my wife.
Yeah, so we just came back from watching the little James Gunn little
I'm a
thing.
year older.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, Mike, you, I don't know if we caught that on the recording, but yes, this is...
I'll just say it again for the recording.
Yeah.
I'm sad that I probably cannot take my entire family to see this one. Because it is going to be rated R, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But it would definitely be a fun one to take the wife to.
There you go. Okay, in one of the trailers, King Shark rips a guy in half, like vertically.
Lengthwise, not horizontally.
Like Mortal Kombat style, yeah.
No, vertically is this way,
Horizon.
That's vertical.
Yeah, vertically, right? Yeah, vertically.
This is horizontal.
Yeah, he vertically, right?
I'm so glad this is a video podcast.
Yeah, this is now a video
because we can see
podcast,
all the funny arm movements.
But yeah, so August 6th is when this is coming out, and it just looks like it's going to be a fun time. It's a James Gunn. We've seen what James Gunn can do with comic books. We know what he can do. We know he can do an ensemble, and we know we're not going to have all these characters always on the screen, because a good portion of them are going to die off, because that's what the Suicide Squad is. And I'm pretty sure that James Gunn is going to take total advantage of killing Nathan Fillion off first.
Are we doing a Deadpool on this? Is he going to be the first one down?
You know what? We really should do a Deadpool. How about, okay, so what we'll do is
next
because
week.
we got a little while and all that. We'll make up a list, and we'll take overs and unders on who's going to last, who's going to die first, sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah, let's do a Deadpool on the Suicide Squad. That sounds like a
fun.
Great idea. That totally does. All right. So we're going to move on to our back to the regular, because last week we had so much to talk about with Loki and setting up with that huge episode 5 and talking about Black Widow and whatnot, we actually decided to cut out one of our regular features, which was our box office showdown. And tonight we're going to be doing round 11, where we are going to be using the information taken from Box Office Mojo, where they take the gross world network inpull of ticket sales and for all the movies, and they put them up to the regular nowadays the inflation rate. They adjust for inflation. That's the phrase I was trying to come for.
Yeah.
Adjust for inflation. And we've using the top 100 movies, we picked out all the top comic book movies. And like I said, we are now in round 11. So we are going to be putting the next movies up against each other. And the first movie, which is actually in the second place position, which actually in the top 100 is actually number 5, and that is 2018's Avengers Infinity War, which brought in a gross total of $2,048,359,754. Now, that is going to be going up against the number 7 position, which in the top 100 was actually at number 22, is 2016's Captain America Civil War, which brought in a total of $1,153,000,000.
Mike wins.
$337,496. All right. So when it comes down to it, this is going to be a little more difficult than some of the other ones. And as we go on about it, we're going to say that in the Captain America Civil War, which is 2 hours and 27 minutes long, it is basically political involvement in the Avengers affair causes a rift between Captain America and Iron Man. So this movie, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, and stars pretty much the Avengers. We also have our inclusion, if I'm not mistaken, is this the first Black Panther appearance, correct? If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Civil War, yes.
Yes, Civil War is basically Wakanda is introduced in this storyline. We're also given back, Bucky comes back into the play. We're introduced to, we have borrowed Spider-Man from the Sony universe. And
that's a fun story, apparently, with Marcus and McFeely when they were writing this stuff. They had to write Spider-Man out of it because they didn't have the rights. And they said that Kevin Feige walked into the office when the script was almost done. And then he went and did this little web shooter thing. So they're like, hey, we get Spider-Man. Oh, crap. We have to write him back in. Okay.
Yeah,
But it was worth it.
It must have been a monumental project because the two of them they worked alongside with the Russos for quite a bit of the Marvel universe that they were working on. And yes, I've heard
and
that
they wrote the
as
first Captain America as well. So they were with it before the Russos.
Yes, they've been with the MCU from early goings and all that. And yes, I've heard that story as well, as with the whole entire Kevin Feige just comes by, whip, and like, all right, we got Spider-Man. Oh shit, we have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was also a very welcome. I mean, like, not only do you get a new character of Black Panther, but you're now bringing Spider-Man into the universe before technically this Spider-Man has been introduced to the universe, which is kind of neat. It's a nice way to go.
Yeah, they didn't kill Uncle Ben.
They didn't have to kill Uncle Ben this time. No, because he probably died a happy man too, because it was probably in bed and whatnot. But so what? Oh no, you can't do that. I don't want to have to find this moment and have to cut it out because all of a sudden we're just giggling for no reason and you have to wait a couple of weeks until the video comes out to see Trevor doing that yet again. No, I am not going to do that to our listeners. Right. They are not.
Don't cut this out, Troy. Just tell everybody to go to the YouTube channel and look at Trevor doing his silly dance.
in a couple of weeks when I get around to posting this particular one, because I have a
Yes.
backlog of other episodes. So yes.
Yes.
Just remember, people listening to this in a couple of weeks, tune in to watch the video at this point and you'll see what we were talking about. So anyways, like I said, this is basically the fallout movie from what happened in Sokovia. This is the beginning of
Age of Ultron.
Yes, of Age of Ultron. We're stuck with this situation where Tony Stark wants to go one way with the Avengers, and Captain America wants to go another way. And like it happened in the actual comic book universe, however, on a much smaller scale than the comic book universe, that this storyline borrows its title from. Again, there are similar ideas brought about, but again, the comic book universe itself dealt with this in a huge, like, universe involving sort of situations where well, I mean, I'm stumbling on what I want to say, but it's like it was monumental. It was earth-shattering.
Well,
it rewrote.
In the comics, Peter Parker publicly revealed his identity as Spider-Man.
Along with Tony Stark,
huge deal.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
would eventually have led to the One Fine Day storyline.
The thing with
That's
the
right.
comic books is, like, okay, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, nobody really has secret identities, right? Whereas in the comic books, all the superheroes have secret identities. So in the comic book line, that was the big thing, like the whole what's it called, the Sokovia? I don't think it was called that in the comic books, was it? It was shoot, what was it called?
Oh, it was the massacre from the guy Nuke.
Yeah, but what was the
What was the bill?
the Superhuman Registration Act.
Yeah.
Registration Act. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wikipedia. So that was the whole point, is that you have the heroes that want to be activating or acting in secret, and then you have the ones that are willing to register with the government in order to keep being a superhero. And that's what caused the whole conflict between the two different teams. Yeah.
And it was big. It was a huge, like, teams that aren't even actually involved in the MCU were dealing with the whole entire, like, situation. Like the Fantastic Four get involved and they are split on who wants to be part of the government and who wants to not be part of the government, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But again, like in the MCU movie, it is Iron Man is on one side, Captain America is on the other. And so,
and this storyline was written by Mark Miller, who we've talked about before with Ultimates, and has his own stuff going on in Netflix these days.
Yeah.
But he brought a lot of the story to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, a lot of the stuff that he wrote in the comic books is stuff that we're seeing on screen. Then as far as the secret identity thing, that's the one thing I didn't buy in this movie, is when Spider-Man joined Team Tony Stark and he didn't reveal his identity. And I'm glad he didn't, but that defeats the whole purpose of what the original concept of the whole Civil War story was. So even though I enjoyed the movie and it was really good, that was one point that I just couldn't, I guess, come to terms with in the movie for Civil War.
I think part of that stems from the comic books kind of used like mass shootings, shooting up a schoolyard.
Yeah.
As Mark Miller used that kind of as the jumping point. So he based it in like Stamford, Connecticut. And the fact that the heroes were acting as part of a reality television show, and then things went too far, and then massive loss of life. When you go to the movies, all Age of Ultron, it's a country no one's really heard of because it's a made up country. And it's harder to have that personal connection of the impact of this. And they don't really use they don't use that as much as when they're taking down Crossbones and that bomb goes off and blows up a huge section of the building. And they use that, well, now we're going to have to start registering superheroes, which at that point is the Avengers. That's it. That's all you've got. Whereas in the comics, you've got hundreds upon hundreds of heroes and upcoming heroes, so it becomes a much bigger deal. And yeah, the secret identity thing is a huge part of that, because the government wants to register anyone with superpowers who wants to act as a superhero. You've got to line up, give us all your identification and all that stuff. We want to know who you are so we can, do the oversight. And I think that's kind of where Civil War, it didn't have as much of a big of an impact, because you're like, you want to register like, not even 24 people, whoop-de-doo, as opposed to several hundred, which could equate to several thousand, people who are mutants who don't want to come forward and say, well, I'm a mutant. And now the government's like, well, you have to. And that's where it becomes a bigger issue. So I think that's where kind of Civil War, they're trying to take an issue, but they're taking it from the comic books, but kind of scaling it down, but saying it's still really important. Well, you got to scale up the value of what it is to keep that importance to it.
Yeah, especially when you introduce Spider-Man, like the
Yes.
one guy who's wearing a mask and has a secret identity, and he joins the side for registration, but he doesn't reveal himself, and there's just no consequence. Whereas every single person on Team Cap, I mean, they're all registered anyway, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have anything to lose. Now, the big thing, I guess, with the movie is it's Cap's fighting against the government oversight. Like, he doesn't want the government to say, you can't save the world. You can't stop this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, if we're the heroes and we're doing the right thing, I'm not going to let you say I'm not allowed to do this. Right? Now, that's one thing I did like about what they did with the script, is you have Tony Stark, who's, the playboy rebel selling weapons to terrorists. And then he finally realizes, you know what? I've screwed up a lot of times. I even created Ultron. I need somebody to control me. Like, somebody has to control all my crazy ideas. Someone has to keep me in check. Captain America, who's the government soldier, right? He's the captain from World War II, following government orders all the time. He goes through Winter Soldier, says, you know what? Sometimes this goes wrong. When you just follow orders, it doesn't work. It's like, I'm not going to buckle to these orders. It's like, I'm going to do the right thing, and you can't stop me from doing that. So it's neat how the characters do a crisscross, and then that starts the conflict.
Thing, you can roll back Cap's. I mean, he gives this whole speech about, what if they hold us back from someplace we're supposed to go, or send us somewhere we're not supposed to go. That's actually a holdover back from the Captain America's First Avengers, when the general denied his request to go after Bucky and his unit.
That's right.
And he's like, well, I got some, and he's like, don't you have someplace to be, like your USO show? That's the first time that he, disobeyed orders, direct orders. But when he comes marching back to camp with all the prisoners he rescued, it's not like you're going to court-martial him.
Right.
I mean, he's one of the most visible members. I think that was start of the inkling that just because you've got stars on your shoulder doesn't mean your decision's right. Sometimes you have to make that personal decision to go where you weren't supposed to go, because you've got to do what you need to do for the betterment of everybody.
Right. And when you're fighting Nazis, that's a whole lot of people just following orders. It's like, sometimes you shouldn't follow the orders.
Yeah. But then when you step that up into, Winter Soldier, where the government he's supposed to trust is full of, people with their own agendas, Hydra agents, people at the very top of S.H.I.E.L.D., they ended up putting up on a manhunt for him. That's going to erode his trust of the government deeply. So that now when they're like, now you got to register and listen to what we say, that's when he makes his point of, maybe there's places we need to go. Maybe there's places we don't need to go, but are told to go. You could see him. You could see that frustration of, he's been dealing with this bureaucracy since the Second World War, listening to people who may not know all the information that he knows, or say, no, we're fine without that. Or, oh, no, I need you to go here instead. Go dance in the USO show instead of save your friend. I could see where that frustration, you could see, that's, it's almost 70 years of frustration right there. Eventually of having to deal with these. He was frozen for a good chunk of it. But still, though, for him, when he woke up after being frozen, time had not elapsed for him. So he's still dealing with that bureaucracy of people who, just because they're a higher rank doesn't mean that they're a superior person.
Right.
So,
and the first thing he does is he stops Loki in an alien invasion, and then gets thrown right into Hydra. It's like, whoa, wake up call.
Yeah, so I can see where he was coming from in this case, and I can see, Tony Stark's idea of, he was the playboy. He was let loose, and look at all the damage he caused. Even when he became a hero, all the damage he's caused. So he wants the oversight. Cap's like, no, we don't need oversight. I can see where the friction is, but for a movie, it doesn't have the same impact of the Superhero Registration Act of the comic books that they're pulling from.
Hence the reason why they reduce it to the Sokovia Accords. It's yeah. So I mean,
because also at that point there ain't a whole lot of superheroes.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Stop licking.
Stop licking, Troy.
No, I'll stop.
Troy, you're always licking during these podcasts. Gavin, now you're doing it. Gavin, you stop too. Oh my God.
Again, something you're gonna have to wait until the actual video of this goes up before you figure out what the hell everyone's yelling at. So anyways, but as it comes down to an actual movie and whatnot, the Civil War movie was a fantastic movie to watch. As Michael has said in the past, the airport fight sequence is probably one of the most technically advanced sort of fight sequence that you've seen. Not only is it in broad daylight, you see full colors of all the characters. No one can hide in shadows. You're fighting digital characters against actual stuntmen in costumes. You're doing all these spectacular camera moves that cut between a whole entire CG environment or an actual airport sequence and then green screen, and it's all beautifully meshes together.
And on top of all that, every single punch tells a story.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's no wasted action in any of that sequence. Like anytime a hero goes up against the other hero, it's advancing the story.
Yeah.
And the best fight scenes in any single movie tells a story.
Yeah.
And this one does it.
Oh yeah, it does it. It does it like gangbusters. It does it. It's like you said, Mike, every single time. And the movie focuses on that. When one character goes up another, the movie focuses on that. You don't have something distracting in the background. You know that's going on in the background and all that, but you're focused on what is the impact of this fight between these two characters.
And there's surprises, like you get Giant Man.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, we have Giant Man, and then we have an Empire Strikes Back reference. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You get Ant-Man on Hawkeye's arrow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's iconic right from that comic book cover of Ant-Man perched on. But yeah, it's also, we have really Winter Soldier and Winter Soldier and Falcon, their initial banter that basically set up the series Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We have the nicknames Brooklyn and Queens.
Yep.
You know, little moments like that kind of
Spider-Man with Captain America's shield.
Yeah, it makes for little iconic moments that just kind of build and build and build. It's a beautiful foundation.
Dude, Spider-Man going up against Falcon and Winter Soldier too. I mean, that.
You an arm made of metal?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the look in, oh my God, the look in Bucky's face when Parker's like with under his own power twisting his arm against him.
I mean, well, you gotta think. I mean, at that point, Winter Soldier, he's like 6'1", 6'2". He's a super soldier, and he's got the metal arm. And this little kid stops his punch cold and starts twisting his arm to examine it.
Yes.
As Winter Soldier, I'd be like, damn, I'm no longer the strongest kid on the block.
And this is the first time we get the proper Spider-Man quips that we've never had in any of the other movies. Now, at least not successfully.
Well, because this time it's a kid doing the role.
Yeah. For me, the telling moment in this fight, up until the point where Spider-Man stopped the punch and twisted the arm, Bucky was one of the strongest people in those lineups because Hulk and Thor were gone.
Yep.
So Bucky's probably thinking he's, strongest kid on the block, and you get this skinny little kid that just proved to him size don't matter.
I think that's easily my favorite version of Spider-Man so far in every single like live action version of him.
I agree.
They cast him correctly. He's a scrawny kid who just has to be like friggin' strong. I mean, they clearly took a lot of cues from Ultimate Spider-Man.
And he
Well,
can
they did
actually
that-
do real flips, like someone who can actually do all the parkour
Yeah.
moves and everything else.
Well, the whole scene where you see the video clip of him stopping the car into the bus, and Tony's like, "Car's doing 40." I mean, that's pretty impressively strong. We get to see the result of that, which also makes that more telling that the kick that Captain America does, the spin kick that knocks him flying and holding up the structure there of the jet. You're like, okay, it's a good thing Cap knew he was that strong, or you just killed the kid because he got crushed. But
Yeah, this movie also develops the relationship between Scarlet Witch and Vision, and how the two of them are on opposing sides of this whole entire situation. We also have one of the other, or just the polar opposite of that, is when Clint and Natasha decide, you going to be on this side? Yeah, I'm going to be on this side. All right, whatever, is pretty much what it turns out to be. I mean, they still respect each other and they still like each other, but
That was such
they're
a fun
okay.
rivalry.
Exactly.
yeah, and
They're
then when
okay with
Scarlet
the
Witch
other
says,
one.
"You're pulling your punches."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, the movie has an epic ending. It has a fantastic cliffhanger ending. Some people are in jail. Some people are on the run. Some people now have to curtail to the government, which is, we also see trickle down through the next couple of movies with the characters and all that. Rhodey is extremely injured in this, practically almost, well, we figure he's actually dead until he shows up in a power leg suit and all that.
Yeah.
Now, what
when he
pisses
stands
me
there-
off about that is how Iron Man takes out Falcon for it, but Vision shot him. It was your team, you dummy. What, because he dodged the shot? Iron Man, you idiot. That's why I'm on Team Cap. The heck with those guys.
Is there a Tony Stank here?
Yes, friggin' Stanley's cameo again. Tony Stank. Yeah, I'm gonna be living on that one for a while. So I mean, yeah.
And then Black Panther in this one.
Yes.
Like, this was my favorite version of Black Panther, even more than the Black Panther movie, because it was a physical suit. He had the proper helmet. And like, I didn't like in Black Panther when he got the nanotech suit. It's like everybody's getting Star-Lord tech, where it just mass form around their heads and disappear and glowing and CG.
Yeah, and this one,
And
he had
this-
to pull the mask off.
Right. And he felt so much like a real character in this movie, more than any of the other ones. So this was my favorite version of Black Panther.
Well, this was also more of an actual personal thing, because his father is killed at the beginning, and
Mhm.
he's on a revenge. He basically wants to take his revenge on Bucky, on the
Yeah, it's
Winter
a great
Soldier.
character arc.
Yeah, exactly. And then he gets involved with this whole entire, again, civil war between the Avengers and whatnot, and he takes sides because Bucky's on that side. I'm going to be on this side. So, I mean,
And I like the fact that at the end of the movie, when he realizes Bucky didn't pull the trigger, and rather than like, well, I can still take out Bucky, he just does that little nice turn and goes after Zemo.
Yeah, and then he stops Zemo from killing himself at the end. That's cool.
It's a nice character arc for Black Panther.
for
For
sure,
a character
yeah.
we've just introduced and don't have the full background on. Just in that short little clip of the movie, we get a beautiful character arc there.
There are a ton of storylines in this movie. There's a crap load that is given to you smoothly too. There's 4 or 5 different storylines in this movie, and every one of those is given its own due, and you feel pretty much satisfied with the result of every single one of them. I mean, the movie ends up where everyone's already separated, and friggin' Cap and Iron Man try and beat the crap out of each other.
That is such a fun moment.
It's a fantastic fight sequence. And also the nice thing about it is it's pretty practical too. I mean, there is a lot of two guys fighting each other. There's a little bit of digital with like Tony and his like repulsor rays and all that, but it's two guys just slugging it out. One guy in a power suit, one guy with super serum, and they almost pretty much do each other in, which is fantastic. And it looks even. The way Tony Stark is after that fight, he looks like he's gone to the ringer.
Yes.
Captain America, the exact same thing. They both look like they've beaten the crap out of each other, and that's it. They're done. They walk away from the situation. I mean, it's just.
And I think my favorite moment is during the end of the fight, where finally Tony Stark's down, and Steve Rogers has his shield up, and he slams it down, and you can see the look in Robert Downey's eyes. It's like he's going to chop my head off, and he hits the chest. It's such a good moment, you know, where he like Iron Man realizes like Cap just beat me.
For a second there, it looked like Gavin had fallen asleep.
Pies, we made pies.
So is there anything you guys didn't like about this movie? I mean, aside from the other stuff, I have one big thing that bothered me, but maybe you guys?
I think I would have preferred that it had a different title. I would have preferred that it had a different title because of knowing the comic book Civil War, of how how world shaking that comic book series was, how it reverberated throughout the Marvel universe and the comic books, how much of a linchpin it was to changing the direction of where the Marvel universe goes, that I would have liked to have seen it something else. I would have liked to have had it been called something else. I mean,
Avengers Disassemble.
Maybe, but
or something to that effect.
And no
Yes.
Mephisto to solve everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I understand. It's a Captain Marvel movie. Yes, it is definitely a Captain
It's
Marvel
an America movie.
Captain. Ooh, sorry. Whoa. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, a Captain America movie.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
Or not.
I will. No, probably not. No. But again, other than that, I really had nothing really bad to say about it. I enjoyed the movie. I had a great time watching the movie. It is very rewatchable. It's one of the ones that you can just throw in, or if you're, well, you don't really flip through channels now and like sit down like, oh, Civil War's on, I'm going to watch it from this point on, sort of thing. There are certain movies, you know, when you turn it on and you're watching the Imagination Network, which no longer exists because it's CTV Sci-Fi, or something like that. If this is on, you'll watch it. This is one of the ones that I will watch. I have digital copies of all of them, and it's one that I will watch again because of the visuals. It's fun to watch the interaction between the characters. Any ensemble cast movie where everyone works cohesively together is always fun to watch and always interesting to watch. So that's the reason why I like this movie. So, but other than that, I can't fault it for anything.
What about you, Gavin? Any negatives? Like, what would be your biggest negative on it?
Honestly, I can't really think of anything. Everything just sort of played so well off of each other. Like Tom Holland's introduction as Spider-Man felt just so organic. Like Tony Stark saying, like, I know a guy, or whatever his line was, and then cut to New York. You know, everything about it just felt like it meshed seamlessly. The letdown with the super soldiers at the end, kind of thing, you know, all being dead, was a surprise. But I did like that last battle. Like the one thing that I felt pretty strongly about, though, that had Tony Stark's armor been in fully operational condition, he would have probably kicked both their asses. The fact that like his armor just kept getting more and more damaged over the course of the movie, just for me at least, there's that just consistency throughout the whole thing. It just felt like everything, sort of like that last battle was so close, but like Tony couldn't have won it with his armor damage.
And I love that with Tony Stark, anytime something goes wrong, the next movie he's got an upgrade, right? It's like, oh man, they beat up my armor. Fine, nanotech. Try and stop this.
Well, Thanos did. So, I mean,
Then he made it an Infinity Gauntlet. It's like, oh yeah, stop this.
And also another thing about the follow-up sort of thing is Parker's follow-up as well, because when he shows his home videos from Civil War, the behind-the-scenes shots of him hanging out behind the crates before like doing his own cell phone recording is, again, a fantastic way to make this a complete, like, full saga of movies and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So Trevor, big negatives.
Why the hell
Uh-oh.
couldn't Falcon just move his seat forward? Come on, just move the damn seat forward. Give the man some leg room.
Well, I think he did the right thing.
Just give him some damn leg room. The man's a veteran already.
No, I'm on Team Falcon.
Respect the service.
Nope.
He's already been in a world war.
I'm on Team
Move
Falcon.
your damn seat up.
Nope. Sing.
No, move your goddamn seat up.
So you like cats?
Civil War between Mike and Trevor.
That was the biggest problem I had with that movie. He just wouldn't move his goddamn seat up. Respect the veteran.
For me, it was Baron Zemo.
You
I
did-
think he could have been a better villain. It was like he had too much plot armor with his plan. It's like every single thing he did just sort of happened to work, and it just kind of like the whole movie. It was like one of those albatross type things where
Red herring.
yeah, he just but he was never the threatening villain, and he never really should have been, because the whole point was Cap versus Iron Man. But like all the plans all along the way, it was just a little too convenient for me. Like every single step of his plans, it's like, wait, you're gonna do that? Oh, now you're gonna do that. Oh, now you're gonna kill them. Now you're gonna frame him. Now you're gonna now you got the code words. It's just the whole way through. What's that?
It's too convoluted. All it took was a tiny misstep and the whole plan falls apart. He just needed a simple plan.
Right. So it just seemed a little bit too much for me. And I remember watching it in theaters. I was enjoying it. And my wife when she was watching it, she's like, she didn't buy it. She's like, what is this? No, this is boring. No, this is right. This is an awesome movie. But because of the convoluted plot, she kind of disengaged from it. And he never put on the stupid purple mask. Like, you're in the Arctic, you're with the super soldiers, it's cold there. Put on your damn purple hat. Like,
yeah.
No,
Pull down
you
your
could have
purple
your
balaclava.
You had your super villain moment, and you just didn't do it. I will give them credit on Falcon Winter Soldier. At least he put on the purple hat.
Finally.
Yeah.
Brief.
Okay, I understand now. Okay, now that you brought that up, yes, the Zemo. I mean, you needed something to push them forward, but the convoluted story. Again, I'm not faulting it because I enjoyed the little bit that we saw of Zemo in it.
It was still good. I will say it's good.
Yes, and he was you understood why he was doing this. You felt that he, like, when he wanted to take his own life at the end, you understood that's how he's got to end it. And the fact that he was able to, he now has to deal with the next step and all that. And then, of course, we all roll into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we have more Zemo, which definitely pays off. But
especially
at the time, we didn't have any more Zemo, and so we had to. Yes, exactly. But
one thing I'll say about Iron Man,
yes,
one of my favorite things is with the watch, where he gets and that was such a great sequence. And he stops the bullet, and the expression,
the look on
his face.
Yes, I was gonna say that the look on his face.
Such a great moment.
Trigger gets pulled, and he's like, "You just tried to shoot me," and like, I'm so glad this worked.
Yes.
Yeah. That look on Robert Downey Jr.'s face is elation and terror at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And
you can tell he's earning his paycheck.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So juxtaposed to that is we have the second biggest grossing movie in this whole entire epic adventure that is the MCU, and that is, like I said, 2018's 2-hour and 30-minute Avengers Infinity War. Now, like we had just said, it is also directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. And it's also Marcus and McFeely as well. And it is pretty much the exact same cast, just double it, like throwing a Hulk and a Thor and a bunch of other characters too.
And an idiot Star-Lord, maybe?
You throw in a couple of Guardians and maybe a Sorcerer Supreme and whatnot. But again, we're pretty much putting two movies that are written and directed and starring pretty much the exact same people.
Everybody.
Yep.
So
basically they win regardless.
Yes. The Russo
brothers,
the
Marcus
Russo
and
brothers,
McFeely,
Marcus and McFeely,
the Avengers,
win.
somebody's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Now this, according to IMDb, and I'll just read the little synopsis that it actually says of the Infinity War, is the Avengers and their allies must be willing to sacrifice all in an attempt to defeat the powerful Thanos before his blitz of devastation and ruin puts an end to the universe. A little overstated, but it's pretty much generally what actually happens in this movie, pretty much, don't you think? Yeah,
Trevor was overstated a little bit there. I agree.
Yeah. So basically, this movie culminates in what has come prior to it. We have built all these movies, all 20, why does the number not 22 prior to this? 21.
20 sounds right.
Because this is 21, right? Everything we've seen since Iron Man. Let's do it. That
sounds
way.
Right.
Everything that we've seen since Iron Man has led to this moment, to this movie.
Absolutely accurate.
Yeah, the build up to this movie is, without a bit of a lie, is an epic journey. It's something that no other studio has attempted to do this pretty much this thing. Marvel has just gone whole hog towards this train, just going down the track, and it just keeps accelerating. It's turned into one of those friggin' Japanese magnetic trains, and it's just hurling along, and we're just all along for this ride. And
train.
And it's movie 19.
It's movie 19.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay, thank you for that. All right.
Oh, Adrian.
So what we have is the first of two parts. Again, originally this was supposed to be one full movie. This was going to be some sort of huge epic movie. The Russos decided, hey, let's chop it into two and we'll make it Infinity War and then this other movie, which we're not giving you the name of, although
Do you really think it was going to be one movie? I'm skeptical about that.
Apparently at one time they had written a 3-hour script.
Really, eh?
When they decided to expand on it, they decided we can't do this in one movie. We can't make a 3.5-hour movie. We can make 2.5-hour movies, but we can't make a 3.5-hour movie. We can maybe make a 3-hour movie, but you go anything past that, you're just in Lord of the Rings territory. And sometimes you can't sit through those movies. There's no way.
Bladder bursters.
Yeah, bladder bursters. You can't do a bladder burster because what they brought to us in this first movie was just so spectacular that you didn't want to miss a minute of the action, but you don't want to torture your audience by sitting there, but you also want to torture your audience by letting them wait a year for the sequel. So, I mean,
I guess that's better than wearing diapers.
And your Depends. Here's your ticket.
Depends. Yeah, here's your ticket.
And your Depends.
Yeah,
here's your iron catheter.
Ooh. Hopefully that's nanotech.
Don't worry,
because
it is a little
tech. Are they a sponsor, Gavin?
They are now.
that's
If you are making nanotech catheters, please be aware we are willing to be your sponsor.
As long as that's all we are as sponsors, because I do not want to go into that process. I don't care what. No. Orangutan will not wear diapers. So, again, we're leading up to this epic movie, and it is something that's never been done before. We've had sagas. We've had at this time we've had like a bunch of Star Trek movies, all running in a row. They sort of have one cohesive storyline. Even Bond isn't able to pull this off because Bond keeps rewriting its story as it keeps going and all that. Star Wars at this time is basically got its original trilogy, its prequel trilogy. It's about to get into the works of its sequel trilogy.
I think it just has the original trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. But what Marvel is doing is by and far never attempted before. Now, I'm not going to say that because I don't know. There could be series around the world that I'm not aware of that have done this sort of thing.
Well, it's definitely a different beast. Like there's never been anything with this kind of box office power that's gone this long, this successful, and had this many movies that they consistently knock out of the park. Keep people coming back for.
They had 18 movies behind them, and they're like, let's double down and let's go big.
Yeah, and they do go big. This is a phenomenal movie from minute one. It's a very comforting movie because it doesn't throw too much at you at one point. It allows you to digest what you've just seen, and then it hands you your next course. You eat that course, and then it goes, okay, you like that? All right, here's something else. Here's your next course. And keeps go on.
Each of those courses ends on a nice high point.
Yeah, exactly. You're all like,
be
that
a good
was
course. A high point, you're saying yes, or high point, you're like, oh. It still ends on a point that you're like, I want, and it cuts into completely segues to something else. Like, no, go back. I gotta, and then you're like, oh no, this is cool too. What's going on here? And then you go back.
Was wasted.
Oh yeah, this okay. Let's see how this goes. The whole movie's like that. You're just constantly, as they cut, you're like, no, don't cut. And they're like, no, actually no, the cut was fine. I gotta find out what's going on here now too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like you said, you're like, oh no, but wait a sec. And then you're like, oh, nice. Oh, this is cool. This whole entire new situation. Oh, I've never seen something like this before.
And then it cuts and like,
what? No, wait, I wasn't done with that. Oh, this is really good. I like this. Yeah, it's
goldfish memory. Hey, look, a castle. Swim 2 seconds. Oh, there's a castle. Swim 2 seconds. God, you see a castle here? Swim 2 seconds. When do we get the castle?
Yeah, exactly. But again, like we said for the previous movie, the writing and the directing and the acting. Now, the difference between this movie and Civil War is just scale. It is now no longer just a fight in a friggin'
German
airport. It's not a fight in a Russian holding tank of soldiers. It isn't like you're not in a boardroom passing around the thick accord that some of you are going to sign, some of you aren't going to sign. It's galaxy. It's the entire galaxy. It is. We finally have the crossing of characters. We find out what happened to the end of Thor Ragnarok. We found out what happened at the end of what happens after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Speaking of the Thor Ragnarok,
yes,
what a great way to open the movie is by killing the main villain of everything up until that point.
Yep.
And nerfing the Hulk.
Yeah. Oh, crippling.
That's what a crazy way. Like your two most powerful characters, done.
Yeah, exactly. Killing off Loki for all purposes and all that. We know that's what's supposed to happen. We've just watched the whole entire Loki first season. But we know that's how his storyline's supposed to end.
But we didn't know if he killed off Thor as well. We didn't realize Thor survived until the Guardians show up and he slams into the windshield like a bug.
Yeah.
But either way, he was wiped out.
Yeah.
Thor
is devastated.
He would have been floating through space if he didn't smack into a windshield.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like you said, crippling the Hulk. Who the hell thinks that's a good idea at the beginning of the movie?
And that was great animation too. I love the animation of the Hulk going out just full like brawler. But then Thanos actually has technique and he's getting jabs in, and it's just like, oh, he's powerful and he's actually a better fighter.
Yeah, which is, I think, for the most part, why Thanos wins it. He's level-headed. He is as strong as the Hulk, but he used the Hulk's anger and randomness against him, and Hulk just can't take it. And the fact that Hulk stays Banner for the rest of the movie is genius.
Biggest side side swipe like ever.
Yeah,
especially given like how much they fake us out with the trailers.
I was just about to say the trailer has the Hulk,
the toys
running. The toys have, yeah,
busting out of the Hulkbuster armor as the Hulk. And
exactly.
Never happened.
Yeah.
And which again, apparently it was supposed to. It was in the script, and then they realized it's better if he doesn't. So in an early draft, they were planning that was going to be his big moment to go into Professor Hulk mode. But then they thought, no, it's better if we wait until afterwards.
Give some time for that whole situation to marinate.
And I think that was a smarter choice. And this is one thing we were talking about in another podcast too, with all these movies where they try to introduce too many characters. Like we get this in Batman movies, like too many villains, too many things. This is a movie with way too many characters, and they pull it off. It's incredible. Like it's a feat for both writing and directing. Like I can't think of anything else in history that's had this much complexity going into it, and they land it.
Yeah, and each of those characters is given their equal no one is higher up on the scale than anyone else. I mean, you're gonna have your Tony Stark because it's Robert Downey Jr.
Right. It's like the core Avengers
exactly,
are the highlights.
Yeah. I mean, also
except for the ones that didn't show up in it.
Exactly, yeah. But also that Captain America doesn't show up till a good portion into the movie. I mean, once he's there, but him and Natasha don't show up until that one particular point when they need to be there. I mean, it's just
that was a hell of an introduction.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah, again, it's another movie where in the theater you have cheering, you're missing lines of dialogue because everyone's so excited. I mean, this movie is chock full of that. I mean, it's just a fantastically fun movie. I
would say this movie has the best or most accurate comic book sequence out of any single superhero movie, and that's the one where the aliens try to steal the necklace from the wizard. Right? Like, have we ever had any bonkers sequence?
You mean in New York sort of thing, that sequence?
Yes.
I see what you're saying. Yes, I
agree
with you.
It's just like, Iron Man's trying to fight with the Hulk, but the Hulk's not working, but we got these wizards doing things, and Spider-Man shows up from a school bus, and it's like, hey, what's going on? It's like, the aliens try to steal the necklace from the wizard. Go get them.
Aliens, enhanced humans, technology, and magic.
It was the ultimate, most accurate comic book sequence I think that's ever been put on film.
The use of camera, the upside sequence when he's got like Strange pinned against the wall with the bricks, and how the camera is actually upside down and all that sort of thing.
It's just so much weirdness, but it's like, it's of course it's an alien wizard coming down to steal the other wizard's necklace, which is an Infinity Stone, and the kid in the bus is Spider-Man, and like there's just so much going on. It's so bonkers. It's like the ultimate Marvel comic sequence. Is that whole segment, and I can't think of anything else that's been like that. What's that, Gav?
My absolute favorite line in the entire movie. I mean, there's some really good ones, but dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizard. Most Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark line I think I've ever heard in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. And again, characters that have never interacted together at all work seamlessly together. I mean, when Robert Downey Jr. shows up at Doctor Strange's place and Bruce Banner's just flipping out like, this guy, Thanos, he's coming, and like, we're doomed sort of thing. And it's so beautifully done. And again, it is such an incredible feat to pull off, and the Russos they direct the hell out of this movie. The fact that a lot of the actors aren't all together at one time. He never has they never have everyone all together at one time. A lot of it is shot separately and spliced together. A bunch of it is green screen. A lot of it is like wearing the dot suits because of motion capture and whatnot. But it's just such a fantastically beautiful movie to experience. I won tickets to see the advanced preview. I got to see it a couple of days ahead at the Canadian premiere. We went downtown Toronto. They gave us t-shirts. We had like amazing seats and whatnot. And it was kind of cool because me and my buddy Adam got dressed up in costumes. He made himself this fantastic Doctor Strange. I did a Bruce Banner transforming into the Hulk, like lab coat sort of outfit and all that. And there were other cosplayers there. And then there were people who were hired by the theater to do cosplay and whatnot. But it was just this fantastic environment because it was like going to one of those midnight showings. You know, everyone is there because they want to see this movie before everyone else. Like, you don't
I
have
took the
someone
day off school, or I took the day off work. I pulled the kids out of school
nice
to see a matinee show
nice.
in an IMAX theater. And with a family of 7, that's very expensive. So I'm paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this movie. And I was not disappointed.
No.
And the fact that my kids got to have that experience at the end where everybody gets snapped and the look of terror of everybody in the theater and everybody being shocked, like that pulls me back to my days being young, watching Empire Strikes Back. What the hell just happened? Did the bad guy just win?
Yeah,
I'm so glad they had that
Thursday night IMAX midnight showing. And I remember like the audience was cheering some points. You could hear a pin drop at other points. It was, it was a movie that really came into its own when you had a full theater watching it.
Yes. Yeah.
And, everyone's sharing all the same emotions. For me, Infinity War had some of the most iconic moments of characters coming into their own. And
like everybody hating Star-Lord for a year.
Yeah. Seeing these characters exhibiting their powers to their full potential. Like in the opening fight scene in Wakanda, when they do that initial charge, you got the entire Wakandan army, and you've got the two, basically the super soldier and the plant enhanced human, just leaving them all in the dust, hitting that front line first. And not just like by a couple steps, like they were well ahead of everyone. They're ahead of everybody.
That was a great scene.
It was just like, this is how fast a super soldier can move when motivated. This is how fast Black Panther as an enhanced inhuman can move when motivated.
Oh, when War Machine starts dropping all his nukes on all the aliens coming through.
Dropping the incendiaries.
It's like, oh, he's got some firepower.
Yeah, it was all the characters. You're like, now we're getting to see them, let loose at full capacity. And we finally get to see Thor fight as the God of Thunder. And yeah, it's one of the most powerful sequences in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when Thor drops down.
Oh, you guys are screwed now.
And
Bruce Banner. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh.
And you see Thor let loose, and you see that ring of the dog aliens just being flattened. Like up till that point, the entire Wakandan army and the Avengers there had taken out a fair number. Thor looked like he pretty much equaled their numbers in one shot.
Yeah.
And as I said, I've said before in previous podcasts, at that moment, Black Panther's like, I need to scrape out the pants of my super suit because we're fighting on a whole different level here.
Yeah.
It's honestly like an ant contemplating an elephant going, well, shit, I'm not the biggest guy on the block anymore. Because he's never seen anyone with that power.
Even through the entire fight, you still had like moments of humanity, like Captain Rogers and Thor, basically. Oh, I see you're copying me. It's, great little moments of like humor amidst like the carnage.
Yeah,
that's what makes a fight scene.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have even a smaller scale where it's almost as epic as the where's Gamora? Who's Gamora? I'll do you one better. Why Gamora?
Yeah.
Such a great line.
When Peter Quill and his group show up with Strange and Stark, it's again Yeah. What am I supposed to say? Jesus? I'm like, wait, Jesus, that's an Earth reference. I'm like,
You're
like,
from Earth? I'm from Missouri.
quips.
That's from Earth, dipshit.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
the other line? It's like an angel had a baby with a pirate or something.
Yes,
the
it's like an
document
angel had a it's like an
Or something
angel
like that.
had a baby with a pirate. Yes, exactly. And that's Drax.
he's not a man.
Yeah, he's not a
You're a
man. He's
dude.
like, yeah. And then Peter trying to pump up his chest a little more and then change his voice and like, what? This is always the voice that I talk with. And like, yeah.
Will, you're a sandwich away from
It's I mean,
Look at the
it's
Bowflex.
it's such a fun movie. Oh, and having Peter Dinklage as a giant. Like
That was fun.
that like
Yeah,
it's
the appearance
brilliant.
of Stormbreaker was
Yeah.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, for me in the comics, Stormbreaker means Beta Ray Bill somewhere around the corner.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters. And then when you
Technically,
see him in Thor Ragnarok,
Yeah,
you see his
yeah.
head. I was like, oh, we're gonna finally see Beta Ray Bill. I'm hoping he shows up in Phase 4. I really hope he shows up in Love and Thunder.
Yeah, you would think
I
he
want to
would,
see Beta
or he
Ray Bill
could.
so bad.
Okay, question for you guys. We've been praising the movie. Negatives. Is there anything that you would say is a negative about this movie? Because I've got one.
I think doing all that they did at the very end all in one sequence was a little much. The pulling on the heartstrings at the very end, like having everyone do their sad face disappearing and all that, and then to end on Peter, that was, I think, a little too much. After all that action, after all that thrillingness, and then the sucker punch, I thought
Dick
it
move,
just
Banner. Dick move.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I think it was too much of an emotional like upheaval. I think it upset people a little more than they intended to. And I think it was just because they gave us such this epic meal and all of a sudden, oh, you got to purge because all of a sudden you're given this sourness of like, wait, what? No. Oh, no, what? I mean, I'll admit I got swept up in the emotions and all that, but I didn't feel it felt uncomfortable watching it. And on rewatches of that sequence, I'll give it to Tom Holland. His performance in that line that apparently was improv to begin with, his delivery, the way he delivered it is just spot on. You feel the fear in this kid's voice. You see it in his eyes, and Robert Downey Jr.'s reaction to it, like he's losing this kid that he's trying to raise as his own sort of thing, right? He's Tony Stark just like loses it. I mean, it's just, I think it was a little too much of the gears, just grinding the gears.
You think Tom Holland got it from Doctor Who? Because after watching David Tennant's death, I'm like, I swear to God, he must have got it from that.
You've mentioned that before, and you
Yeah.
know what? I do not doubt it. I do not doubt that Tom Holland had seen David Tennant do it and get some sort of inspiration from it.
But I do think it was amazing. And for sure, of all the people that got snapped, that was the most powerful out of all of them. I felt it.
And I mean, I'm freaking well. I'm at 50 now, and at the time I was like late 40s, and my emotional things since I've been a dad has been all over the place. My emotional control has been whatever. So I was outwardly weeping in the theater because, well, you're in a theater and you can hear other people also being emotional about this sequence, and it's just stuck with me too. But I just think that was too much of a, like I said, a grinding of the gears to suddenly switch into reverse without slowing down and all that. Yeah, it was too much of a sucker punch that I felt. Not that it wasn't emotionally, and that's what they wanted to happen. I just felt myself. I felt a little uncomfortable in.
So you just couldn't handle the punch, is what you're saying?
I couldn't handle the punch. No, I couldn't handle the punch.
Couldn't take a punch.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a glass jaw of emotion.
if they had gotten rid of him in a different way, it had to been a little more comical. If it hadn't been as emotionally wrecking as it was, I probably would have been a little better. But the fact that Tom Holland did just a fantastic job and Robert Downey Jr.'s reaction was just So
I
brilliant.
was shocked that they snapped Spider-Man. I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
what?
Yeah.
What about you, Gavin? Any negatives?
Honestly, I can't think of anything that made me upset about it. Like the whole movie just had me pretty much on the edge of my seat. Just the one-liners were fantastic. The action sequences, like there wasn't a spare moment that was actually wasted. Nothing felt like it was dragging on for too long. Just like every moment had its purpose. And for the length of that movie, that's fucking impressive. At least for me.
Trevor?
Wow, 2 hours in, we had our first F-bomb. All right.
Well, here comes some more. For me, honestly, this was the first movie where we're seeing Thanos, doing his thing. And in that movie, I was wondering, why does he surround himself with a clusterfuck of Three Stooges as his henchmen? None of these guys got the effing job done. Blade got stabbed with his own damn weapon twice. The guy who's master of
Ebony Maw.
he's frozen and
Ebony
he's
Maw.
pulling an alien. It's just like, guys, I mean, these are your top tier henchmen. Is this why you've got them, to make yourself look that much better? Because they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag without a map and maybe a really angry Pomeranian or something. Like, every time they got into a fight, they got their asses handed to them. Every damn time, with the exception of the start of the movie, where they somehow beat all the Asgards. Like, the Asgardians just say, "Oh, we quit. We're giving up." Like, they just quit without a fight. Like, what were they, the French in World War II? Like, come on. If they could,
I would just like to say that Geeking Off the Page loves all the French people listening.
Yeah, it's just, if they could beat the Asgardians that easily, why the hell did they have such a tough time with even the human Avengers who don't have superpowers were kicking their asses left and right and left and right. I mean, if I was Thanos, I'd be putting up want ads for henchmen that are actually worth a damn, because these guys were just, it was, oh my God. Every time they're on the screen, like, oh, we're going to fight the Avengers. You're like, yeah, let's chalk up another loss. If these are his best of his best fighters, show it. Let them, if not win, then at least put the Avengers on the retreat. But every time these guys took the field, they got their asses handed to them. Thanos must be like just ashamed. Like, every time, just, oh God, here we go again. Glaive, could you stop getting stabbed with your own damn weapon? Keep it in your hands for 2 seconds. I mean, he took that thing in the chest, what, twice? It just, yeah, that was the part that was the biggest letdown. If he is such the big bad, the general of such a terrifying army, it really sucks that his army is just a bunch of lackwits. That was the part that, for me, that in the back of my mind is like, man, he's really surrounding himself with the scrapings of the bottom of the barrel. Maybe it's to make himself look that much better, but come on, it's got to be better than this. So yeah, that was my one downside.
And I wasn't going to say that.
I want to switch my answer to Trevor's, because Trevor came up with a good point.
Oh, okay. That reminded me of one too, is that my entire family, especially my wife, was saying that Thanos' henchmen look like a bunch of badly designed video game characters. And it's like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see that too. So I'll stack that on top of Trevor's. But the big one for me was the whole creation of Stormbreaker. I didn't like that sequence. I thought it went on a little bit too long, was a little bit too goofy, with Thor, opening up the gate and getting blasted by a star, and then Groot.
He should have said it tasted like coconut.
Coconut?
Tastes like coconut.
Coconut. And then with Groot being the handle, we talked about this in one of the other podcasts, but if Groot got the handle and attached it, I think that would be cool. But it's just like, you have like the most powerful weapon in the world with a wooden handle. Like, it's gonna break, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as someone, I've actually forged a knife. I've looked it up. Cast weapons are just so much inherently weaker than forged weapons. And so I'm like, so when they started pouring it into the mold, I'm like, oh, please tell me he's gonna hit this thing with a hammer or
Yeah.
something, do some forging. It's like they smash the mold. It's already. I'm like, oh god, that thing's just gonna. First time that thing hits
Yeah.
anything, you're gonna have chips breaking off.
Yeah.
That's where we're on
I've
my
watched.
head. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've watched
I'm like,
4 years of Forged in Fire. I know why what blacksmithing is
why you
different than
don't-
forging. Yeah.
why you don't cast weapons? It's why you forge
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Even
like,
out of
oh.
a star. I agree.
Yeah, I was. That's one thing. I was like, oh, and it's gonna have cast marks on it, and it's not gonna look that pretty.
But a
I'm
wooden
like-
handle, wouldn't the wooden handle break immediately? Like, I don't
Yeah,
get it.
that
That
was, I was
part
just
really
like,
bothered
"Oh."
me. That was
And-
my
I mean, yeah, he's got metal hands. Can he just kind of like fit a hammer down the one and
yeah.
pound on it a little bit? And there,
Yeah.
yay! Now it's forged.
It's like, where's the handle? I don't know where the handle is.
Tree, find the handle. He didn't
No,
say
we'll just give you a
"Tree,
wooden
find the
handle." It's like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna break it on the first swing. But yeah, for me, that was my biggest low point of the entire movie.
Okay. All right. But all in all, though, this is what we're tasked with at this point. Now we have to figure out what movie has to move on. Now, as we've said at the beginning, this is pretty much two fantastic movies just on two different scales. One is a very low, earthbound, very centric to a small group. The other one, huge, giant box office. Both, again, they're over $1 billion. One's over $2 billion. I mean, they are very successful movies. They're very well written. They're very well directed. They're very well acted. Special effects are like beyond compare. I mean, costume design, whatnot. The look of the movies is just spectacular. But
Can you snap?
can you snap, Michael, with that?
I've tried.
I can snap with mine.
Sort of snap with yours, Trevor.
You hear it?
Kind of like
Really?
Oh, I heard that.
Well,
No.
at least we're all here still.
Yeah. Two of your screens should go dark.
So this is basically what we've come down to. Which is the better movie of these two movies? Now, we could say one just because it's more successful, but that's neither here nor there because on its own, yeah, it's just building up the audience. I mean, by the time Civil War came out, there was a lot more people watching Marvel movies by the time you got to Infinity War. So, I mean, which of these war movies wins? Which do you guys think is the better of these two movies?
Hey, who answers first, Troy?
Gavin, apparently, because he just put up his hand.
Infinity War for me.
Why?
There was just it just felt like more of an epic scale to me. I realize that that's kind of the crux of like the difference between the two of them. The Civil War versus Infinity War is a question of scale, but I felt there was a lot more at stake in Infinity War. It just, like Civil War was just okay. They're two heroes at each other's throats. Okay, but this is the damn universe at stake. So my investment in that was much more in Infinity War than it was in Civil War.
Okay. I'm gonna put it this way. It's like I'm comparing. It's kind of hard to say which is my favorite out of the two, but I'm going to use this as a comparison.
Oh, come on.
Exactly.
Come on, Troy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm going to use this as an example. A New Hope versus Empire Strikes Back. In my heart, in my soul, A New Hope is my favorite movie. Empire Strikes Back is a better movie just because of what Empire Strikes Back is compared to Star Wars. But deep down inside, my heart belongs to A New Hope. That being said, my experience with Infinity War compared to Civil War is Civil War didn't have, and it's the one thing I mentioned that I was kind of tough on with Infinity War, it didn't have the heartstrings pulls that Infinity War has. Civil War, fantastic movie, very high highs, low lows, enjoyable, funny parts, but there's more of an emotional impact that I got from Infinity War that I didn't get in Civil War. So for that being said, I'm going to go with Infinity War, but we are talking like just a minuscule little amount. It's so close for me to choose. If there had been some sort of more of an emotional pull just in the slightest more in Civil War, I would have gone Civil War over Infinity War. But the fact that every character felt something in Infinity War, whereas like Ant-Man, he didn't have much of an emotional thing. He was just there to be there. And I don't think Falcon had much of an emotional core either, other than him just siding with Cap because, hey, Cap's my new buddy sort of thing and all that.
And getting shot by Iron Man.
Yeah, and getting shot by Iron Man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Infinity War had it. Every single character, you saw them go through stuff. You saw them, like Mike said, the reason why Peter Quill was the most hated man in the galaxy for a year is because he had an emotional break in this movie, and you felt it. You saw it. You saw it on his face. You saw it on everyone's face. They went through the whole entire thing. They went through the gambit of emotions, and I'm going to side with that as my favorite of the two.
Oh, geez. Speaking of emotions, we didn't even talk about Gamora getting killed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, speaking of emotions, Red Skull coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, and what that means. I mean, yeah.
So, question for you, Troy. You were saying about between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Like, how do you relate the two?
Well,
Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back compared to these two.
So, I would say that for me personally, the emotional core of it's also because of the time that I saw. That has a lot for me. It's a lot of what I am experiencing when I see these movies for the first time, or how they impact my life.
Okay.
Star Wars is something that was very core with my my makeup. So when it comes to how I interact with the movie is very core to how I enjoy my movies. Star Wars hit me at a very pivotal time in my life. It's one of the first movies that I physically actually remember seeing in the theater for the first time. Over the year and a half that it was out when I originally saw it, because I was 6 when it came out, I was able to see it in the theaters 50 some odd times. It would be like every weekend or whatever. It was at a time when you could throw your kids into a movie theater, have a movie theater filled with nothing but kids, and no, your parents would go shopping for 2 hours, come back, pick up the kids, and that was it, right? It was a different world. It was a different experience. Me and my brother got involved with all the toys and whatnot. Empire Strikes Back was a little different. It was 3 years later. Still enjoyed it. I didn't, at the time, didn't quite understand what was going on. It was too over my head. As a 9-year-old, there were some things that I didn't understand. I didn't understand the whole entire Luke, I'm your father sort of thing. I'm like, wait, is he lying? He's sort of thing and all that sort of thing. So I had way too many questions after Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, once you hit.
But then how does that compare to these two movies, Civil War and
now
Infinity
I
War?
had more of an emotional connection to the one that I did the other. Now, both were great. I enjoyed Empire Strikes Back. I enjoyed Star Wars, but because there was an emotional lock that I had on one more than the other is the reason why I enjoy the one more than the other. It's not that the movies are too similar, like we've discussed here. They're both very well acted. They were both very well directed. They are both very well written. Everything about these movies, they are pretty much equal. It's just the emotional impact. I felt more of an emotional impact, which allowed me to, again, I'm saying it's just a smidgen more. And I enjoyed Infinity War because I had a more of an emotional connection to this movie than I did Civil War. So that's basically what that comparison is. When I compared the Star Wars Empire to this, that's
right.
what
It's just the emotional connection that you had to it.
Yeah, exactly. And
We'll
I feel when I have that emotional connection to a movie, I enjoy it a lot more than, like, I'll watch zombie movies and just see all the blood and gore and whatnot and the makeup effects and all that, enjoy the hell out of it. But it'll be like, hey, that was fun. And that's it. I don't think twice about it. And again, like I said, I'll throw on Civil War anytime and throw it on and watch it whenever. But I mean, Infinity War is got it. I mean, Infinity War I have on my phone. I have Infinity War and Endgame are actually on my phone, so I can bring those up at any moment. And actually, one of the funny things is just, I mean, we're stretching this even longer than we needed to, but I actually counted down to the actual start time of Endgame, went back to the proper time and started watching Infinity War on my phone and carried it with me to the theater, watching the movie, playing on my phone, and sat down I was off by 5 minutes. So the trailer, watching people like coming by as I'm like walking through the theater, because I had it like just on a little stand, just sitting there right in front of me, sort of thing, as I'm walking. I didn't drive at the time, so someone else drove me, so I was able to watch the movie as we were going. And so I got into the theater. Yeah, I got into the theater, and people are walking by and like, are you watching Infinity War? I'm like, yeah, I'm catching up to the movie. And I'm like, and so yeah, I sat down in the theater, and the movie ended, and the trailers were just about to start. So I didn't quite do it to the beginning. I wasn't going to have the movie playing while the thing, but it came within 5 minutes. So that's how much I enjoy Infinity War. So there you go. So my votes for Infinity War.
Next. Who's next?
Might as well, Trevor.
Me or you?
Might as well, because I think Mike has something to end off with. So go.
All right. For me, I mean, two very strong movies. And I've been thinking about this actually for the last, I thought we were going to do it last week. And so I've used this week to kind of think about it. And it honestly, it boils down to antagonist, protagonist. Which one is stronger? So for protagonist on both sides, it's on both films, you have the Avengers. You know, sometimes you have this team split up, but honestly, the protagonists are the Avengers. Then you compare the antagonists. You've got Baron Zemo versus Thanos. It honestly, it's not even a comparison. Just in terms of threat level, in terms of what they do, how they do it. Zemo basically was able to tear the Avengers apart, but they were breaking apart anyway. Thanos, he wasn't going to tear the Avengers apart. He was just going to obliterate them. He was thinking
snap apart half the universe. Yeah,
he was thinking on a whole other level, and it's one of the reasons why I hate the movie Frozen, because there's no clear antagonist.
Oh, Trevor, just let it go.
No, I'm not.
Let it go.
They keep switching it around. So when comparing the movies, one of the things that, as you know, I write, do that sort of stuff. I always think of, who's the hero, who's the villain, who's the antagonist, who's the protagonist. And, these two movies are so strong. It boiled down to that time, that little thing of, who's the antagonist in the film. And, in Civil War, you've got one team versus the other. So as a viewer, you could say, well, that side of the Avenger team is now the antagonist, and these guys are the guys I'm going to cheer for because they're the antagonist, and back and forth. But in the end, it's Zemo. Zemo is the main villain of Civil War. You go to, Infinity War, there's no question who the antagonist is. It's Thanos, and he's not something you can just blithely ignore. He wants to snap half the universe out of existence. That's not a small thing. And he succeeds, which is huge. This is like Empire. The bad side won. You know, he did it. He clearly states his goal. He takes the steps, kills his own daughter or his adopted daughter. He gets to the point, even Strange says, 14 plus million different scenarios, and only one did the good guys win. And we end that movie and we're thinking, we didn't get that one version where they won because Thanos did it. He actually did it. He got all the Infinity Stones, snapped his fingers, and we watched the aftermath of, some great acting, but people getting snuffed left and right. And then finally, Peter Parker. And I left the theater like, oh, holy shit. He did it. He won. And I didn't get that feeling coming out of Civil War. I was like, oh, Cap beat Iron Man. Okay. They're going to have to, Tony's going to have to get back to Stark Tower. He's going to regroup. He's going to build himself a new armor. He's going to try to win the next war by analyzing how he failed in the last one and face Cap again. But now, Thanos at the end of Infinity War, he won. He beat the good guys. And for me, it was such a turning point that's why my vote's for Infinity War. It was just, as a standalone film, much better film. Much better antagonist for a film. Stronger story.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, Infinity War wins. For me, it's like you got two impossible movies. Like you have Captain America trying to be a Captain America movie with the Avengers, with that many characters, that much complexity, introducing new characters, Black Panther, Spider-Man, and they pulled it off for the most part. Aside from what we said about Baron Zemo being a weak villain, it was a really strong movie. And again, one of my favorite fight scenes in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe with the airport sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Even a more impossible movie was Infinity War, is because they're upping the game, right? You have even more characters, an even better villain, just more complexity going on. And again, the New York sequence with the stealing a necklace from the wizard. Again, one of my favorite fight scenes. You have all the different stuff with Thanos against the Guardians of the Galaxy and Gamora getting killed and everybody getting snapped. There's so much going on in this movie. Even the slower moments, like with Scarlet Witch and Vision, like to see them living and hiding and their own, like there's so much that they packed into this movie. So ultimately what it comes down to for me is the experience that my family had in the theater. And I will never forget the shocked look on all my little children's faces when everybody got snapped and the movie was over. That terror in their eyes and just wanting to see the next movie so badly. Like that experience can't be taken away. And like you were talking about that, Troy, there's that emotional impact that you have in the theater at the time. So when you drop over $200 to see an IMAX film in 3D with a gigantic family and popcorn and stuff, and it pays off, you're happy at the end. I mean, you're sad because everyone got snapped, but it was a great experience and you can't wait until next year when you can do it again. Like that's what wins it for me. So Infinity War.
All right, that was pretty good. All right, I like the fact like the fact that we actually all had different reasons of why, but I think we're all under the understanding that Civil War itself is still,
it's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, up against
again, it's impossible. What they pulled off in that movie was impossible.
Yeah,
but then it was even more impossible to pull off Infinity War.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Civil War against just about every other movie on this list would come away as a winner.
Yeah,
but it just happened to come up against Infinity War that did everything in Civil War did it better.
Fun fact, my Infinity Gauntlet, that was a Father's Day gift from my children.
Oh, which one? Tony Stark or the Thanos one?
The Thanos.
The Thanos one. Nice.
Yeah, so I could snap them. So yeah. So after that movie, that was my Father's Day gift. It's like, oh, my kids are awesome.
All right. So that being said, now that we've wrapped that all up, I think we're coming to the end of this particular episode. We want to thank everyone for sitting by for this through this a little longer than usual one, but I think we got a lot said in this, and it's very fun to be here. Very long.
Fun.
It's been a long episode. So
and we do have some questions coming up, but we'll get to those eventually.
Yes, we do. We did have a couple of questions on track from a couple of people and all that. Unfortunately, we're just going to cut this short because,
Gavin talks too much. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Gavin, shut up.
Yeah. And so on that, we're just going to do our goodbyes. And on 3, 2, 1, collective
goodbye.
There you go. Good night, folks.
Yeah, you're getting better.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off the Page with your hosts, Mike Kitchen, Gavin Burbage, Trevor Brown, and Troy Bowman. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you could leave us a rating and comment, that would assist in allowing others to find this podcast more easily. You can follow the podcast on the following social platforms: Instagram and Twitter, search for @PlanetGeekPod, all one word. On Facebook, search for Planet Geek Productions. Or you can send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Buy the guys a coffee by going to Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. And know that any and all donations will go towards improving all current and future Planet Geek Productions programs. Thank you for listening.